One dark and silent night in a forest, a voice was heard saying that from today his name is Zero, and then the Manhwa organization is his home and country as a place where he commits himself voluntarily and gives everything. He must be completely loyal to the organization and has nothing to hide. Then, the meaning of his existence is to obey orders. But after that, he is prepared to sacrifice all the time for the sake of the organization. He is Han Xiao. Before traveling through the air as a gamer, it is the hated pirate. That he is hated by everyone for doing this job, just because it is to make money and for relaxation. His big name in this game is very well known and sought after by many people. Many admire Angels. He is now more pro than pro player. This year he has hijacked dozens of accounts and can still board the game player's board that he hijacked. And it is called Star Ocean. It is a game that has more than hundreds of millions of people online in the universe. Starry map and spawning will be the latest in the optical computing input parameters and automatically change into a completely unbelievable form. And then, he had been a player group for more than 10 years. And now, the location of every rock was a rhyme to him. The Sea of Stars was more real than the real world. When he accepted the next proposal, he still thought life would continue like that. But when he woke up, Han Xiao became the test subject of experiment number 24 and had been injected with Valkyrie solution, minimum Z reaction time 45, and confirmed the experiment was alive. But after that, Han Xiao didn't know what happened. After waking up, he tried to escape from the people in this place, but then he found himself in the game. His whole body was like the main character after escaping. Han Xiao was caught by Hyla, owner of this place, and brought back to the laboratory. He knows that this person in front of him is Hyla, the boss of the battlefield shield from Star Ocean, who said that this defender uniform is the germinal of the organization. In the game stub, he understands what happened to the Valkyrie experiment. And then, in the first step of the germinal, super soldiers plan as a terrorist organization to overthrow the government without any tricks. According to this scenario, his body is an experimental material that will probably be operated on or brainwashed. Han Xiao does not understand how to cross the sky. The beginning is too bad as what he expected. He was sent to a laboratory for brainwashing, but currently he was only level 1, and not even considered and also compared to levels 5 to 8. The people present here were no longer able to fight or try to escape anymore. And after that, especially this level of boss seems to be almost crazy, that there is no chance of winning. Don't even think about how to deal with it. That brainwashing is what is important now, and it also looks like there is a shelf for research materials. Even though his staff is an NPC, he carrying the character attribute table and reincarnating with the same leveling card as the player, through reading that page, Han Xiao was promoted and was not affected by brainwashing. Then, Han Xiao became another character called Zero. In the training ground today, he has to do training shooting skills and wrestling every day. And his trainer is Hyla, Zero thought as expected. His attribute table is the NPC version, but he can level up as players. Learn the skills of waiting, he will become the power of this world. Hyla thought that it seemed like the experiment wasn't perfect, but the scientist didn't think so. He said it was perfect because cannon fodder doesn't need emotions. Han Xiao, who heard their conversation, told them to continue dreaming in his mind. Hyla then told one of the soldiers to take Han Xiao to rest, but the soldier said that the test subject room was still not ready. Having no other choice, he told him to take Han Xiao to his room because the chairman made Han Xiao his responsibility. Han Xiao became nervous inside because he was not sure why he had been brought to Hyla's room. After arriving at Hyla's room, Han Xiao looked around. He got excited just thinking that he would live with a beautiful woman in a small room. Hyla is currently contacting her chairman to report that Zero's condition is now stable. When asked by her leader if the brainwashing was complete, Hyla answered that she witnessed it, so there was no problem. He then asked the chairman what plans he had for Zero. The chief replies that the purpose of the Valkyrie experiments is to raise a warrior, so he orders Hyla to train Zero. Hyla then said that she wanted to see her sister. Hearing their conversation, Han Xiao remembered that Hyla had a younger sister. The head of the organization then laughed and said that was not their agreement. He then said that he allowed Hyla to see his little sister once every 2 months. So he warned Hyla not to cross the line. Their call finally ended. Han Xiao looked worried about Hyla. Hyla then hit the wall, causing it to crack, and Han Xiao was shocked. Han Xiao almost forgot that Hyla was truly a devil. But seeing what Hyla was going to do made Han Xiao stunned. Hyla took off her clothes in front of Han Xiao. At that moment, Hyla started to glance at Han Xiao. Han Xiao also tried to calm himself. Not long after, a naked Hyla approached Han Xiao. Han Xiao also felt that this was truly unfair. Hyla slowly got closer. Han Xiao desperately tried to restrain his expression because it would be over if Hyla discovered that he was not brainwashed. Hyla finally distanced herself from Han Xiao. Han Xiao felt relieved because he almost kicked the bucket. The time for bed arrived, but Han Xiao was stunned because Hyla only had one bed and wondered if this was a gouge. Han Xiao convinced himself that he had no choice and lay down next to Hyla, but he was kicked by Hyla. Han Xiao, who hit the wall, asked where the gouge was. The next day in the training area, Hyla instructed that Han Xiao from today would participate in unarmed combat and shooting practice every day. He then gave something to Han Xiao, but suddenly Hyla kicked Han Xiao in the stomach and caught Han Xiao's hand. Right after that, Hyla kicked Han Xiao in the stomach with her knee. Han Xiao, who was lying on the ground, was ordered by Hyla to get up again, and they continued to practice close combat. But even though it was called close combat training, Hyla just kept beating Han Xiao. As soon as their training ended, the system notified that Hyla taught him basic combat, and the current progress was 5%. Han Xiao laughed in his mind. As he expected, even though his interface was an NPC interface, he could still increase his level and learn skills. He is a player with an NPC interface. Han Xiao also made up his mind to become the king of this world like before. After Hyla left, Baroda went to teach her the skills. Next, he shouted at her to wake up. She couldn't stand it. Baroda was her shooting instructor too, and the deputy base chief he gave her, a gun with 10 practice bullets in it, he asked her to shoot them in the head. Zero was worried this was a moving target. It was already hard to start with. This must be an Olympic champion to do Zero continuously shooting at the target. He couldn't help but believe it. His eyes, he didn't hit a single bullet. No wonder his current attribute wasn't hard enough to be hit. After he missed his shot, Baroda stabbed him with a knife. And then, he looked at him confused, and suddenly stabbed him again with a knife. The one he ordered him to continue training was not satisfactory. He will stab you with a knife. See how much blood you will shed today. Zero was angry but couldn't move now. He is an NPC that can't come back to life and only has one life for now. In the future, you have to hold on to it. A surgeon who researches that sooner or later the operation. It's not easy, Zero thought. Of course, he knew a successful test animal. And then it wouldn't protect him for long. Germana would continue to create new experimental objects in his time running out, and Zero told himself that he had to take advantage of the time to become stronger if he didn't want to be killed. And then, he said that tomorrow he would go to organize Operation Zero again. He was still holding a glimmer of hope. Maybe this time it would be no problem, Hyla said. Didn't the organization just refuse? Last week, ask him to wait longer. He was annoyed with such trashmen. He blamed Hyla for that, and for caring too much about the test subject. Don't worry about money and how to handle your belongings as freedom. Hyla was currently sitting with Zero, watching him fidget with a gun in his hand. She advised him not to fiddle with it anymore. It is broken and thrown away. Stop holding it like a treasure that is no longer used as a waste product to be thrown away. Hyla says one word, but has two meaningful meanings. That, if he didn't make final progress, he would be the same as that weapon. Suddenly Zero raised the weapon and told Hyla that he had fixed it. He didn't feel bad fixing things as well as gaining experience. Too bad if he could get in touch with more machines, that would be fine. Hyla then reported the situation to the leader, asking for permission to enter the armory. Seeing that he was very interested in taking apart and dismantling the machines, perhaps it would have an impact on this aspect. Then, Zero thought that completing assembling or repairing machines could gain experience. Now what he lacked was being able to access more weapons in the armory, meaning he would have more experience. Hyla took him to the armory, and Zero was surprised at his growth. Was truly a level of equipment? Germinal, a lot of equipment like that would be enough experience for him to level up. Some levels were lucky. And then about 3 months later, Hyla came out at night to see how far he had gone. Unfortunately, he was only hit a few times and he fell to the ground. He only had a little courage. Zero wondered how much courage he had to find out. He told him that all this time he had asked his superiors to study anatomy. Then, although the organization said to wait for the appearance, without this prospect that day may not be quite as sure as he expected, it is very good that the other party's camera has been processed. It seems that the Germinal thinks it is a waste that no longer has 24-hour surveillance. Now simple dismantling no longer yielded much experience. This time he tried strengthening his equipment, which seemed a little better. Only, after upgrading, he still had to restore the equipment to its original state. Couldn't tell them that he could strengthen other people's weapons away to the armory, and said that the organization was very disappointed with he from today reduced his resources by 80, looked at the uniform, and guessed that the person who entered was the first test subject of the second survivor. Then, after him test subject number 1, hating Zero was said. That he was a test subject before him, the organization had spent a lot of resources on him. But at this time, he only knew how to make this kind of waste a waste of arranging it to replace him. It was the right decision. If the test subjects were truly brainwashed, then the organization was his creed. He couldn't have had the conflict of the army that followed experiment number 1, carrying Zero's belongings along with a few insulting words. And then, he thought that by the time they were killed by the cannonballs in their eyes, there wasn't a single piece of armor left. He was curious about what they looked like. Leader Zero agreed to his request. Just do as he said to agree to Zero's research. Anatomy of a toy so interesting Baroda hasn't played enough with it. Unfortunately, Lin Weixian is very happy because her wish has come true. Since the beginning of making this experiment, he wanted to operate on it. Ahila stood beside him angrily through her fists. Today he fought with Zero again, but he felt something was wrong. This female ghost seemed to be angry. After today, her mouth kept shouting at him to come out of defense and then attacked. He thought that he didn't offend him normally. Good or bad, Hyla will give him a break today. He can only practice, keep asking him to fight will fly. Then stop fighting. It's funny how he expects her to come here and sleep tonight. You don't need to come tomorrow after all. He will have surgery tomorrow too. Hyla left a mumbling mouth that didn't change anything in the end. Zero thought the day had finally come. No wonder Hyla was very angry today and couldn't bear to see him undergo surgery by Lin Weixian. So he beat her to death like this woman had been really strange for the last half year. The only person who thought of her as a human was this female ghost. He will show them how to play with tigers. Every 2 months Hyla has a holiday base. Today, before he left early, Zero felt very good that he left here. If Hyla was still at the base, even Uncle. And then, this moment will not be able to turn back. The time has come. All the patience and endurance is for today. He must get out of his prison. The day soon Lin Weixian's people will take him to surgery. Today is the end, and also the chance Zero finds the photo. In her feet, which shows Hyla and her sister Aurora. Aurora also has abilities. But her abilities are different from Hyla, as the additional ability to heal can even extend life from birth to death. At the end of version 1.0, Germinal will dissect Aurora, and make countless potions with her flesh and his body. But after that, this blood immediately made Hyla crazy, and turned into a goddess of death, causing other people to be afraid. Later, Hyla had high hopes for Zero, so this time she was going to do something to the loudspeaker on the wall, issued an experimental order. Zero listened to the order to the central lobby to wait for Lin Weixian's orders, ordered the hall guard to take Zero to his private laboratory. He heard Lin Weixian's voice. Aurora. This matter was waiting for him to come out. The entire base was full of cameras below. And this world was a stupid act. It was looking for death. If so, the surveillance room would be his first target. He went into the surveillance room and destroyed the people present there very well. The heavenly eye on the head had been destroyed. Next was that damned Lin Weixian. 20 minutes later in the lab, Lin Weixian was so happy to see him, he came. But he didn't expect that he would soon be killed too. After easily killing Lin Weixian, he continued with his next plan, even though in the last minutes before his death, he tried to look at the camera for help. Luckily, he had resolved the problem in the monitoring room and killed them. Zero looked for Lin Weixian's forbidden door card. Finally, what he wanted was in his hands. Then this base can only be opened by 3 people, and Lin Weixian is one of them. If she is just arrogant to get the card to open the door, there will be no turning back. In 10 seconds, everything will be over. A smart person like him will not be able to do anything stupid like that. In short, the plan was to cut off communications and take advantage of the free time now. The transmitter was located on the 3rd floor in the basement. He needed a wall-breaking arm. Zero decided to go back to the 2nd floor to get a wall-breaking machine arm. The person who made it the most impressed only 3 people. Hyla, Lin Weixian, and Barota. And then, Hyla was not in the base for now, and Lin Weixian was killed by her. For now, she just needed to stay away from Barota. The others who saw her didn't even notice. As if she had raised the others. No one noticed her. But unfortunately, Zero met Barita again. He thought you were new, but your voice sounded familiar. He wanted you to raise your face so he could see Zero mumbling. In annoyance, he grabbed a knife and rushed. Always wanted to tell him he had to see a psychologist. He tried everything to beat him and finally succeeded. Half a year, 420 knife wound. Now he wanted to hear from her. How does it feel to get revenge the day before? When you stabbed someone. Unfortunately, he no longer had a chance. The soldiers present didn't understand what was happening. Everything happened so fast, so firmly they didn't believe in the truth. Master Baroda had been killed. The monitoring room also didn't respond to the group leader, ordered to immediately get instructions from Dr. Lin Weixian. Team C reported back finding Dr. Lin Weixian's body. The leader assured everyone not to panic, and everyone needed to turn over. And then, every brick to find the enemy was allowed to open fire. He assigned everyone to the monitoring room of the Data Protection Laboratory, and the main door guard Team C answered that the target was injured and intercepted in the laboratory, but they also suffered heavy casualties. The team leader heard it and quickly rushed to reinforcements, asking everyone to try to defend, but the group leaders didn't know that Group C was destroyed by him. And then, the fact that the person who was talking to everyone just now was Zero people would not have thought that what greeted everyone was a trap he set. Before following what was arranged, Zero left the place easily. He reached a nearby mountain and stopped. It had been a long time since he had breathed outside air. Zero couldn't help but be happy, and the person at the center quickly contacted and asked Hyla to come back immediately. He felt it was absurd, that things couldn't be like that. He ordered him, real or fake, to immediately return to the base. Hyla didn't want to because he hadn't met his sister, but it was impossible to prevent it. Seeing his sister was already more than 2 months since he saw his sister. He ordered her to be quiet and not babble. And then he was not qualified to bargain with her. Hyla didn't believe what he heard, so Zero always pretended not to care how he thought about it or regretted it. Couldn't see his sister coming to fight. He had to go back to the base that night also. A team of night owls was sent to destroy it. They went up the mountain until the road in front of the car could no longer be entered. They decided to leave the car there and walk. Everyone was optimistic at the moment. If the man ran in the sky, everyone would catch it easily. And then, the damn leader sent his team of night owls to catch the truly insulting specimen. When no task to do this task appeared, he announced to the brothers herd that in 30 minutes, whoever caught another stork would be allowed to rest for half a day. Zero stood there without a car and discovered that they had come looking for him, a total of 3 dark cars like this to find, however. Suddenly he was shot in the shoulder by a sniper. The sniper was sure that having infrared long-range glasses was not his forte. He decided to use the rest of his express points and attributes to strengthen melee capabilities. Then we'll find a way to shut down snipers later. One he dropped by him. There was also an unexpected harvest. Every time he killed one, he would receive a lot of express points. And then, they couldn't believe what happened. But his teammates were easily defeated. The rest of the school group was angry. Only a test specimen could kill all his brothers. Zero, ammunition ran out. Equipment almost failed, calories too low. He understood that he couldn't stay together. This captain was forever. He had to hurry to win. Prolonging the time would only be detrimental to himself. Without thinking much, he charged into battle with Captain Zero, feeling that this guy was also tough, not easily crushed like the previous one. Then the captain said it was because of his subjectivity that his brother and sister had to die in vain. Because coming to this country, he didn't want to live alone in this world anymore. But before that, he had to personally send him to hell. He attacked with a knife, but the knife stuck to Zero's iron arm and couldn't let go, taking this opportunity. And then he dropped it, and its supporting arm was also damaged therefore. Fortunately, he saved the image later. Just need to find enough items to be able to recreate it. This place you can't stay long. The Germinal will soon chase you mountains and vast forests. But his heart was confused and didn't know where to go, let alone first find the place where someone found a detailed map and calculated. In the hall of the base, the leader was very angry about the failed specimen, which was able to kill 30 armed guards, destroy all the laboratory records, and he also really wiped out the elite night rescue team after killing people and burning down their houses, still running around them telling tales. He ordered all experiments to stop until a potential danger was discovered in the Valkyrie solution simultaneously. Then all the test specimens were brainwashed again. He didn't want any more zeros to appear. The people made from Lin Weixian's previous experiments, when they heard the leader didn't trust their loyalty, were so angry they asked to go and bring Zero back to the leader. He didn't want to praise them very well, bringing Zero back here for them regardless of life or death. Zero, on the other hand, had been walking in the forest for 7 days. And then, the soft drinks were all gone. Too boring. Luckily, his wound wasn't infected. It seemed like he chose to add points for stamina. He didn't know how long he would have to go to get out of this wilderness. After all, he thought that if he stayed in this wilderness, he would be an idiot. He had to find a place with people quickly. Zero was roasting a chicken. He was just caught to eat when he just ate someone's big thigh, covered it with a net. And then, the man came with a gun and asked him not to move. Apparently, this man wanted to rob. He told him to take everything on him. Zero thought it was in the middle of the forest like this. He was robbed by a small bandit. The man shouted at you, dumbfounded. Why was he talking with you? Not to mention that Mr. Zero has already come out of the net to attack him. That with just a few movements, the man knelt down and begged for forgiveness. He felt very funny, that the gun barrel was bent to change shape and wanted to be a robber. There was no harm in shooting straight away. He continued to admit that he was wrong, and then he wanted to go something else. That wasn't. He could do but crawl away. He knew from the mouth of this robber he found a way out to the east, less than a kilometer to another village where the false nomads gathered dD. He had just arrived here when someone invited him to buy in exchange for an object. He also had something on his body. He took out 7 bullets to exchange with the man. He wanted a map and water and food. But the man criticized the amount of ammunition for being too little. Then he needed more. He thought he was asking the price in the sky. How did he do it with a smile on his face? Within 100 miles around here, there is only one point of supply of this. If he has the courage, don't buy it. Someone standing nearby. Lucky Kai Luo doesn't cheat. It's not easy for people to go out. He rarely does these immoral things. The person who just spoke is called Hu Hongjun. He reminded Zero this person is a cheater. Don't believe him at all, judging from his appearance. He must have been in the forest all this time. But since he wasn't afraid to say that he could go to his house to rest and eat, something he wanted was pointless. Waiting until he didn't think that this person at first glance didn't look like a bad person. Travel with him. Even though he is a bad person now, with his strength he has nothing to fear. And then, when he arrived home, Hu Hongjun, he was treated to delicious food by him. That night, Zero decided to spend the night here to have strength, the next morning to continue the road. Before leaving, he prepared a lot of things for he, just as he left people at the base. Suddenly, the people at the base also guessed that he would stop by here because around this area, there was only one station here to supply food and water. But after that, the one who met him in the forest was Hongjun's nephew, who was shaking in fear before seeing the picture. They were still thinking. They looked in the wrong direction. The person who led the search, the shaking man, found this item was the weapon that Zero stole from Night Owl Squad. If he didn't go to this place, why is this guy holding him? He ordered everyone to inform, or everyone will die, Kai Luo anxiously shouted. Because Hu Hongjun brought him. Why didn't he say it so everyone won't die? He had no choice but to point his finger towards those people. It was better for the angry leader to be honest. From the start. He was a bastard. Almost like he was cheated by everyone. Next would be the price of lying to them before leaving. They all killed everyone there. Zero was left soon. After his eyes kept twitching, had a feeling that something was going to happen. His backpack looked like someone had touched it. Inside was all the equipment he took from the base. If they were found in a place where he was afraid, they were in danger. After checking again and missing the weapons which Hongjun must have stolen, Zero quickly returned to the place. But before his eyes was a vision of everyone dead. The man grabbed his leg and told him that he must avenge everyone. The previous robber told him what happened before he took his last breath. That Hu Hongying would always protect him until the end. They followed Hu Hongjun's orders to go towards him just to look for him. However, after that, if he couldn't be found, he would return in the same direction. He just needed to ambush. On that path, activated a rank E quest. The quest required destroying the entire squad. He would make them regret what they did, as he predicted. That night, Bug is back. If this side can't find him, it must be the opposite direction. To see how long he can run, Zero started to attack him first. Then he took them down one by one as they got off the vehicle. Unfortunately, his tactics were also accurate and predictable. Everyone was wiped out until trial number 1 stepped out of the car. He couldn't believe his eyes. It was impossible. He was clearly trash. How could he destroy an elite team? He didn't believe it, Zero answered softly. Before, there was also one person who did not believe it now. That person's grave was already as tall as 2 statues. The walkie-talkie that fell to the ground was now making quite a sound. The person talking to him was the leader of the organization. And then, if he continues to accept returning to the magistrate, He accepts her organization will give him a chance to retain his memory. It also gives him a higher status than being a test subject. She asks him on what basis he thinks that he will return. As stated, he wants organization. This is God's will. Its effect on everyone is a matter of heaven and earth. And if he refuses, this world is small, but there is no room for him to live. He now decides to find a power that is able to fight Germinal. He will go to Star Dragon Empire in the capital, Star Dragon West Imperial. He is currently injured by Germinal Star Dragon. Must have also obtained intelligence of 10 of those who wanted to cross the border. 8 of them could not. But this did not make it difficult for him in his previous life. However, he wanted to. Players couldn't cross the border. Just found people in illegal immigration fees. The NPC paid a little money. He could easily enter the city. He went to someone who asked to enter the city, using all the weapons in his backpack as a way to pay. The person immediately agreed to help him cross the border. Star Dragon is one of the 6 kingdoms of Hainan. Against Toothless entering the Star Dragon was truly the best decision he could have made. And then, at this time, this place is still as in memory. Through this Alun heading east, 2 kilometers, there is a furniture workshop at the end of the street, hidden a plot that he read in his previous life. But now no one knows. He must make use of it in this life previously. This miracle was not his. This time it was absolutely not to be missed. He followed what he knew and quickly found where to look for the good thing that was the person he was looking for. Then 2 people were seen sitting at the bar on a table. It was competing with each other. Some people said that they had the ability to sense movement. The old man, other people were not afraid to call and ride a horse. Zero stood outside and looked at the 2 of them, praising. In his heart, Black and White were caught in a very fierce situation, master. But when he got there, his face was black. No one was fighting. Only the 2 of them were playing chess. And then, he was almost fooled. He wanted to be accepted in this place to work. But before going to work, one of the 2 old men played chess. Wanted him to take a test. The old man showed an unpleasant attitude. He also had some bones in the process. 3 hours, he asked him to make prosthetics limbs. If the person who played chess with him earlier agreed, he could stay. The girl in the shop named Lucian didn't agree, wanted to make prosthetics just drawing textures. It took a few hours, only 3 hours was impossible. Then the old man asked his grandson not to interfere. If he wants to work here, he needs a little courage. If you can't get out soon. Zero agreed to the old man's request. He will do it. Liu Qian cursed him for being crazy. And how could he do it in space? Liu Qian brought all the things he asked for. He suggested that working together would save a lot of time. And then, he answered that he didn't need to make a sketch, because he already had a complete structure. He couldn't believe it was only 2 minutes. Since he had it, his parents thought he only needed 2 minutes to make a complete structure. Even an expert like him can do it. He just told him to wait and see. The old man thought he wanted to see what could be done. This kid saw what he did. It was an original form of prosthetics. And then, especially since there were no spare parts, maybe he prepared it earlier, even though he thought in his head that he definitely couldn't. In the end, he actually made a complete prosthetic hand before the old man sat down the chess player, and the old man also praised him without hesitation. Stop. On the way back, the chess player and the old man called someone and told him that the wanted Zero had arrived at the National Defense Strategy Department, Star Dragon 13. And then, everyone inside was talking about Zero. Coming here, if he went to the West Capital alone, it means he wanted to seek refuge. But he was wanted by 100,000 Germinal, which involved 2 possibilities. First, he held important intelligence. Second, the strength is very strong. The danger is difficult to judge. The 2 people next to them made the request, so they did a good job in calculating and implementing the protection order. Don't let the Germinal spies in the Western capital know the existence of he. After saying that, they immediately implemented the plan. Ask the monitoring team to block all news related to Zero. And don't let the news leak outside the district, 7 Crow Scrap Station. He is looking for the gray head of the 7 Raccoon District to cooperate. The profits from figs are very rich. He can help him reduce costs, but he only needs to pay a small processing fee. He will in charge of preparing documents and components. He will be responsible for manufacturing and assembly. Every morning he will come to work for 2 hours. The cost of each gun is 1,500 more, and he wants to take the machine that he values both parties until reaching an agreement. And if he didn't have a chance to fight monsters, now he didn't have to worry about money. If he did this using the intelligence of the 13th Bureau, It was easy to find out the cooperation between him and the raccoon. That way they would see his mechanical prowess. Sooner or later they will find it. The Level 20 Breakout quest requires the completion of 5 items. The knowledge base currently lacks chemistry facilities, and the old man's encyclopedia is in place where he claims to have some kind of knowledge base machine that he will use in his spare time. And then, Shop Zero had been playing around making a robot for himself. Liu Qian praised him for his hard work, and it was hard to blame him for being so powerful before he also complained that he was too bored because there were no customers, and soon a guest came to the door to see. He needed to fix a car that wouldn't start, which was currently parked on the street. Seeing a customer coming to Lucian excitedly, he wanted to go with the customer to fix the car. This was very simple, but he rejected that slightly dirty motive. But still letting the other younger brother fix it, he sat inside while thinking that the sound of that person's footsteps was very calm and strong. Definitely trained, it must be the detective from the 13th Bureau that he was waiting for. Lucian was annoyed. He thought he hated him. And then, he looked like someone who was scared of shit. He became only now he came out to tell him that it's better for him to go and wanted him to go in and rest. When the car was parked, he kept asking about you, your little brother. It shouldn't get old. How should a younger brother be called? He wanted him to show his sincerity before asking someone else's name, hearing that he introduced himself as the good name, Feng Zhan. Then, he caught him, only to ask for a cigarette. He told him to call him Han Xiao. After that, he continued to ask many different questions, but all received answers from him. When he finished repairing the car, he left, and he immediately called to inform, initially observing the target was the monk. While there was no way to judge the danger, only knowing the target claimed to be Han Xiao. And when he came back, he received a new mission avoiding pursuers. To complete this mission, he needed to take a day off. Lucian told him to ask for his help. If he had any problems, he could help him think of a way. He told him to be sure that there was nothing wrong, actually. There are many people who follow him, that the mercenary team hates him at first sight. Alone. Ordinary people are offered a reward of up to 100,000. Han Xiao. He knew everything that happened around him outside the battle was too violent, and it was easy to hurt innocent people. But this was still a more suitable place. He went to the raccoon site to look for materials first. He went to him to tell. 1 hour earlier, the raccoon called just in time for lunch and wanted him to eat with him. And then, he thought for a while, and then agreed during the meal. He said he had spent a lot of money to ask his background. He didn't think that he turned out to be a person who just arrived in the Western capital. Not long ago, the raccoon wanted him to wake up a little and give him all the weapon manufacturing techniques he hoped he could work with. And at least to avoid physical pain, he asked him to make sure that he can eat. His intelligence seems to be a bit low on He-Han. Xiao asked him to try entering the dark hammock to find the newest gift. He is a bit impatient now you talk too much, and he will change his mind and will not let you die. Then a fight occurs. At first he is still guarding the situation, causing the raccoon not to understand what is happening. However, after that, his subordinates were all killed. But after the mercenary team rushed over in large numbers, so he fell into a dangerous situation. In the near future, Han Xiao needed to find a place to escape the raccoon, and the others were all frozen now. They did not understand what happened here, is where this mercenary came from. From the raccoon observing the situation for a while and came to the conclusion at the first pian. This mercenary was heading towards the boy. He found a suitable place to dodge the bullets, then brought the robot's remote to open it. He felt lucky that he had prepared it. Previously, the mercenaries were drawn closer by the robot. At this time, the bulletin board showed that the robot's ammo, not much the warning system, was damaged. Asking for inspection and repair, he knew it couldn't take more time so long that he had to quickly take them in when the mercenaries discovered that the robots had a problem. However, they could no longer run. The robot was blown up by a raccoon. Han Xiao scolded it for being crazy and daring to blow up in the inner city. A group of people from the 13th Bureau also just came and kept talking about seeing the demons have to clean up quickly. Or tomorrow there will definitely be in the front page of the 13th Department's men stormed into the factory and asked everyone to hand over their weapons immediately. Then, only now the raccoon thought what he said was true. The mercenary at this time went to the 13th Department. He ordered the next person to him to turn on the computer so that he would know it was true that the NHA Department 13 male traitor came to arrest people. He became afraid now, and this time he actually finished. He completed the challenge to kill the killer and received his reward. But this time he didn't click to receive the reward. What he thought was now was not the time to receive the reward in the Star Dragon interrogation room. The previous auto repair shop guy named Fang Jun was interrogating him. The person next to him wanted him to explain the 1 million bounty and why the Germinal organization wanted to deal with him. Maybe he holds some intelligence. They asked him to tell everything. And then, Xiao joked with the great authority. And if he wanted to cooperate, he could also show sincerity, asking someone powerful to talk to him, because he hoped that the Minister of Intelligence would come to negotiate with him. Xiao said that he used to be a logistics worker, who researched the weapons and machinery of a logistics worker. Then he mysteriously read some information that shocked everyone present. Xiao thought it was a terrifying success. Who doesn't know, based on the game setting Highland, the current 10-star powers are still related secret intelligence with the power of the astral world, Navy Blue Star. There's only one high-level Khadora. If the Germinal organization has contact with the Dark Star, their 6 empires will be unlucky. He pointed out the location of the 3 secret Germinal branch bases located at the scene. Xiao's condition is that he want to work together with everyone to deal with Germinal, and so that person decided to report this incident to his superior, this time bothering him to stay here. He said don't make him wait too long. He just asked for a day off. People from the 13th Bureau started attending meetings to see how they would deal with it. Finally, the decision was made that he would enter a secret action set, letting him participate with the Germinal itself, and will only be able to judge his intentions. Funny Germinal suddenly set up a base in the territory of Star Dragon country. They sent tanks to clear the base, told them the advantages in Germinal organization of the 45th secret base. The Star Dragon Commando Force entered into a girl inside the team was annoyed they could use the excuse to take a few days off from their injuries. The Ministry forced them to do the mission, and they really didn't consider the special agent to be an unknown person. The intrusion system was locked to a blue-haired man holding a computer, and then, saying they had detected the system base started to encrypt the other party, had gathered people to pay attention to the control room being attacked by hackers. The squad quickly moved to the girl just now, felt that the situation was not right, and asked the blue-haired boy Lin Yao to hurry. He tried for at least 3 more minutes, but the enemy would come in a minute at most. Others said this time starting at the top, giving them new equipment. And the girl wearing Xiao's designed sleeve looked at him with disdain. This thing really won't explode, research idiot. There is no other way. If the document is destroyed, everyone's efforts will be considered abandoned. They can only hope for this little momentum. But he didn't expect that when fighting the attack, power is so great. And thanks to the people who completed the current search, Xiao had been lost in the shop for more than 3 days and had not returned. Lu Qian asked his grandfather to send someone to find him. He just said, maybe you died somewhere. His nephew did not agree. If he still couldn't find it, the wine would be sold. He would have no choice but to call a chess partner. Before, and asked him to let him go, he was taken home by the intelligence agency's car. Liu Qian anxiously came out to ask where he had been the last few days, and he was going to call the police. Xiao replied that he was going for a walk. Could he find a more reasonable excuse? Yesterday he was watching TV and saw gunfire on the spot. Junk, he thought something had happened to him. However, when he thought about it, he was worried about her knowing that she called to report the situation. The old man came from outside the shop to see her and said he thought she didn't live to come back. It was a shame. He decided to go buy a phone for her so as not to lose contact again. But he said he didn't need the old man's phone, seeing that it was an encrypted phone from the 33 departments he belonged to. And then, 33 department, he explained that because he was the main suspect, 13th Investigation Department was a new contact for him. He had to take him 24/7. The old man saw the truth and grabbed his shirt, wanted to monitor and tell him the matter of joining 33. He unable to escape. However, after that, he got rid of the old man. He turned on the system. The system received some more clues. He guessed his intelligence had effectively destroyed the current place Feng Jun went to pick him up. They received his heart by reporting their current base, accepted him in the Covert Operations Division, where he was assigned to the action squad. Leaving the goods in the store when he has free time, will come back to handle everything in the logistics department. And then, a girl who used to use the arm he made. She was looking for the trump card of the logistics team. He asked her if she made the arm when he heard that she laughed. And before, he also thought that the arm was used by her. He asked, "What's with that arm?" He said his intention was to order himself in such a way that, hearing this, his face couldn't smile anymore. And then, that it was not discovered by him. So don't say it early, it's a waste of time. He, the guy sitting next to me, laughed nonstop. Lu Shuang pinned feud 80 from the newcomer. This will be assigned to the logistics team. Until then, he would take care of that person. But things didn't go the way he wanted. And at the same time, he arrived at Star Dragon 13, where he was acting in secret. He was surprised that he was the logistics. The members were approved by the director to join their team. Everyone took turns to introduce themselves. The person named Lambert asked if he didn't believing them. With a mask, he answered that his identity was kept secret. Lee sat next to him thinking, only now asking if he was the one who made the arm. He also wanted it, asking him to make it for him. And then, if he wants to make that arm, you have to charge everyone talk for a while. Then there is a new mission to catch the black spider in the western capital. Black spiders seem to be famous hunters. Han Xiao thought the experience reward was too low. It was better to give up than not. They planned to leave. That night it was his first time on a mission with everyone. Everyone gave him time to adjust to the first logistics. He would be the eyes and ears. Then, they gathered and processed intelligence based on Aya. Even though he accepted this light task, all he wanted was to be able to kill the monsters. Lee said the building in front was the hideout of the black spider he was in. The opponent's third floor might let their guard down. Han Xiao told everyone that they didn't need to be careful anymore. And the black spider has detected, they really are, as he said. The black spider found, in addition to the flawed intelligence information, he had the black spider's assistant appear in front of everyone. He asked if everyone was a dog of 33. And if everyone had stretched out his fangs, so far then he would cut the claws. Everyone to stab the javelin and had to follow the javelin. He split the other two into a mass attack, leaving this one for him. Handle him, not stop talking nonsense. And then, praising everyone's bravery, that he would let everyone die happily. Hart wasn't sure where he got that confidence from, but after just fighting for a while, he saw his weakness was this black. Spiders weren't good at close combat. Based on this weakness, he quickly destroy it. And then, Han Xiao reminded him to be careful. He is not dead yet. He has a very difficult ability to deal with you guys taking off other people's body protective masks. Li Yalan is arrogant to say this newbie. He understands his mentality of wanting to redo his job. Don't deceive people anymore. Lin Yao listened to him and went to look as expected. Those people were not humans like that. Han Xiao watched everyone from afar, giving instructions to take them down one by one. There was one last person who he did not order to kill anyone anymore. However, but the next second everyone did as he instructed. He changed his color, so that he knew his abilities. The parasitic clone that divided the faceless clone. Every interval within a certain distance, the clone would obey the command to act. The creature could continue to revive in the nearest incarnation. The tool panel showed that he had completed the quest as expected. The support would have less experience. The mind stabilizer aimed at mental attacks was of little use. Then Han Xiao went back to build more offices. Lucian said that last time he asked to build more of the office is almost complete and can be used. And then, recently he received a lot of orders for combat knives arranged from the special forces, so he would quickly grow his wealth, but at Star Dragon the local logistics department was looking for a way to destroy him. There might be a reason for that. It was a betrayal for him not to hand over the map. One of them said that he thought that if they didn't hand over the map, and they will have no choice, they go look for a special forces team to buy combat knives. And they will base on real objects to deduce the map. They actually come to buy at a very high price, end up actually researching the map and making knives to sell. Currently in Han Xiao's shop, all the orders were cancelled because the design map was concluded by the big department. However, the scale of production may therefore require another plan. Everyone in the 13th Bureau started talking about Han Xiao. The Minister of Research and Development was temporarily dismissed from his post. Because of his involvement in arms speculation, the Minister of Arms Speculation must have been counterattacked by Han Xiao, who, proving that the tall building supported him, they couldn't believe their eyes. Even the executive minister was polite to him. And everyone was talking about what kind of background this person was. The old man who was playing chess with his boss wanted to ask, how did he want to solve this problem? He just wanted compensation. Someone next to him said he was selling maps to make money. He also dismissed him. And while other people, but the compensation wasn't enough, if they didn't steal the map, he could still get it normally, which was what he should have. Could he consider this as compensation? If he bought from him, maybe he would sell it for a good price, but he didn't negotiate with him. At this time, the old man talked about his condition, and they hoped for something like that. But after that, it will not happen again. He wants to see the advanced knowledge of the machine. This is a good opportunity. The advanced knowledge of the Six Kingdoms and the Germinal is not the same. Only loyal people can see the ranking knowledge is the secret of the Star Dragon. Only for personnel with authority level 5 and above. Success or failure in this state. Failure can only waste a long time to level up authority. But the old man immediately agreed. After gaining that knowledge, he completed his quest to become a mechanic. Definitely his specialty mechanic. Now he felt that energy overflowing within him. After progressing, the biggest change was the power received. The attributes of the mechanical primary power were the basis of superpowers. However, if he can train, his growth strength training will be faster in the future. Unfortunately, training consumes experience points with physical strength. He still has to pay attention to building machines at most a day. He can only train twice. Xiao received a notification from the group, and that the captain had come out of the hospital to call everyone. When he entered the place receiving him, was the captain's annoyed face. He was asked if he was Xiao. A nice man came and whispered to him, "This is the captain." And they, in principle, the captain agreed to accept a new person. But he applied to join immediately, after the captain's injury was approved by the bureau. So the captain was a bit annoyed with him. But rest assured, he is quite a strict person. But he is a good person. The captain said that with him the team now has 5 members as staff. His position is logistics. However, he said directly in front of the background, he has nothing, he doesn't trust his abilities, regardless of every message about him from his superiors. His attitude remains the same. If the captain sees that he can't care less who approves, he will fire him. Granting privileges corrupt. Secret ministry can also arbitrarily open the door for others to enter. And then, it was true that the subordinate's safety didn't matter. He thought he seemed to see him as someone who was trying to get in. They hadn't finished talking yet. The new mission had sent troops for the raid. The mission had been ambushed and needed everyone to respond. The captain ordered Lin Yao to stay behind. To replace the logistics position, Xiao was a rookie staying on the side to study the rare opportunity to immediately utilize their team. Then he didn't say much, just said and agreed to what the captain arranged before he left. He gave Li Yalan something called his friendship sponsor. "This is your new invention, want everyone to save money." Lin Yao looked for a chance to talk to him privately. The captain didn't intend to hit him. He wants him to stay out of his mind. He also doesn't want people to be awkward. Because they had arrived at the location according to the information provided by the rescue squad logistics team 30 kilometers away. The enemy was chasing a total of 15 armored terrain vehicles. A Black Hawk helicopter was the meeting place, temporarily arranged into a mountain mound. 3 kilometers away from everyone's task was to ambush the troops and support their teammates. Lin Yao sent the meeting place to everyone. Get ready as Xiao observes the armored clone prototype. War one of the bases. Dynamic Armor 10 Sheep High version 1.0. Don't expect anything bad here. Everyone prepare to shoot. The enemy had been waiting for a while and they finally arrived. Then one of Xiao's team members told everyone to run away from the enemy. Too much mentality, they were attacking the other party. Having fake abilities, the person who appeared next he was very surprised. Lin Yao, who was sitting next to him, was equally surprised. He was a Germinal war officer. The captain orders Li to move away immediately. However, it was too late. He came to attack. He was completely unable to counter any attacks. His entire control process was eaten away from him. There was no level difference too big. If this situation continued, Li Yalan would die in Gila's hands. He begged him to help Xiao. With quickly thinking of a way, he asked him to find a chance to use the dynamite arm. The enemy would open a gap for a moment, taking the opportunity to sneak in, while Li Yalan was looking for a chance to use the kinetic arm that Lambert had. The sight gun was ready as he expected. He was directly hit by the gun. But after that, he asked what his relationship was with Zero, but he really didn't understand what he was talking about. Every time Xiao ordered Young Wei to take Li Yalan back, don't fight. Everyone tried to put Li Yalan in the car, a plated vehicle. The pursuing armor wasn't as fast as theirs, and the espers, who were also nursing wounds, couldn't be chased as long as he boarded the plane. He could retreat safely without any problems. And at this time, Xiao reminded him to be careful. In the sky, the enemy still had helicopters. The captain ordered Lambert to shoot it down, but their armor-piercing bullets had run out. Normal bullets couldn't shoot through the armor. The theory people now think they must die in here. He reminded everyone who forgot what he gave them before he left. The captain opened the red ammo box and asked what this thing was for. Give a short answer, and he would know thanks to the bullets. But after that, the enemy threatened to flee. He ordered our planes to come back. He was asked what armor ammunition could also burn under it. After treating his wounds, called to inform the leader that he had found the whereabouts of Zero. The battle was over, and all people returned to base. Lin Yao surrounded Han Xiao and praised him about how strong he was. He made a few more jokes. And then right now went to apologize to him. Sorry for doubting your abilities before. If it wasn't for your new weapon and your leadership, everyone wouldn't have done it. Not standing here now, he used the title of captain to welcome him into the platoon. No need to apologize for this little thing. He was a tolerant person. However, the captain thought about why he felt this was a reverse statement. Someone from the other nest went looking for them. And then the captain asked why he was not in his team, but came here to buy ammunition, wanted to ask. Did Han Xiao sell ammunition? The captain asked what he thought. He used this opportunity to get the offer he agreed to sell. The price both parties can complete the transaction within a day to get the goods. Li Yalan said that in the future he will be responsible. And then, to attract business for him, he had to give him a discount on this ammunition you could sell for a lot of money. Ammunition. He also gained not bad experience in a short time. No need to worry about money matters anymore. Currently, Lu Shuang secretly bought his ammunition for research. The minister did not allow anyone to research high flammability bullets. Just because he was afraid of Han Xiao, he would definitely find a way to make it. But due to the bad luck of the bullet exploding, he was also sent from the research department to the logistics department of the Germinal team. After receiving the information, he also took action. When he received this news, he thought this day had finally come. He also prepared everything for them. Han Xiao continued to research Play 10 alloy. The quality wasn't bad. It seemed like the money he bought for the mineral materials wasn't wasted. The platinum blade was effective with shock resistance combined with a small amount of platinum alloy. And it can increase durability. It's not easy to break, and it's a sword that can act as a shield. He received a notification from Feng Jun that wild weapons have been prepared for him, leaving it in the organization. Before, he asked him to find him to deal with Germinal. When Li Yalan saw him, he was very interested and wanted to borrow a sword of his own level to play for a while. Too good cutting was as close as cutting mud. However, it was certainly profitable. He thought it was a very powerful falcon weapon. He was not growing young anymore, and wanted him to make one for him next time too. He agreed. Next time, definitely this weapon might be enough to deal with Germinal assassins. Now his perfection of strength training is up to 90%. Plus other statistics continue to increase, based on this progress. It's time to launch the public beta. The power has already surpassed the first way the system said that the test began to get data. Apparently this test is aimed at a small number of plus players. And then, it happened a week before the public release. Today is equivalent to 6 in-game days calculated with the game's public beta time of more than 40 days. To be correct, but now the timing is not correct. So every time it updates, it has more time to develop than anything else. He thought if this was the case, he had to worry about the longevity of new players appearing. He had to find a chance to get close. And while Han Xiao was having a headache about this, the other party started to create new characters in the Star Dragon residential area. A group of foreigners appeared. They only knew that this place seemed to be a beginner village. They didn't know what to do next. A mysterious old man appeared, said that if everyone wanted to eat, he would help find jobs residential areas. They did not accept the need for idle crops to be harvested. And tailors and weapons shops in the south also needed skilled workers in front of the residential area gates. A shipment had just been sent, and he assigned them to work. In short, just be diligent. You won't starve. However, after that, one of them thought that the resources in Beginner Village were limited. Precious trial time. He had to go outside. He wanted to quickly explore some places to gain profits. The long-eared man first found the mysterious old man to buy a map. This is a drag map star, and he wants to go to the Western capital soon. And after he entered the Western capital border post, he noticed the person who was always watching him was Han Xiao. He did not understand why he felt like someone was always staring at him. Why, when he knew he was given a task by Han Xiao, he first gave him the task of finding him a piece. The bread and prizes are navy blue. But after that, the bad thing was that he thought that if he was a high-ranking NPC, there would definitely be a more advanced quest, that the test would satisfy him before he could activate the next quest, that he would confidently play the game for years. This motif was too familiar. There was no one. After that, he gave him all kinds of strange tasks before Han Xiao left the long-eared man, asking him if he could see him later. He left him the address paper of the young man with long thoughts, just to protect the secret of this high-ranking NPC. And then, during the trial period, he would defeat other players. Han Xiao was also attracted by this guy Furious Sword Craze. He remembered that he was a great master of the martial arts system, who was in the top 24. He was lured by it into a mechanical system. The first few seasons definitely didn't have a chance to show off. But as long as he sticks around for the next few versions, he guesses he will appreciate it. There are also a lot of people who are starting to accept the quests. It seems like a lot of players have already completed the beginner village scenario. Most players are without attitude, only interested in the rewards, and the quests only give them the profits they can. Doing anything possible, he could order them to become his important support to face the Germinals. And then Han Xiao approached them asking for help. Everyone there was happily waiting for the mission to arrive. But the quest reward was limited. The quest could not be submitted, and the reward exceeded the limited limit too, unable to provide for himself. It seemed he still had to think of a way to increase the limit first to make better use of the players. He gave them a quest to find bread again, and they scolded them for what this mission was. He decided not to assign any more missions and lowered his sympathy to them. And then, those people all cursed him for being cunning. And when he didn't receive his sympathy mission dropped when he returned to his workshop, he received a notification that triggered a survival-required assassination quest. Apparently before dealing with the players who joined had to deal with the assassins. And after receiving the quest, he immediately left the shop because Lucienne was still in the shop now. Because the assassin's arrival would affect, he could not let the story affect him. Han Xiao looked for a quiet place to go to. The uninhabited harbor in front of him was very suitable for battle as expected. When he got there, the enemy also started attacking him. A flock of birds flew around Han Xiao. But he then refused to tie him up. At this time when he felt unwell, and the enemy was a fake ability. He was just a mechanic. How could he escape from here? He couldn't escape. The birds started creating hallucinations for him, and Han Xiao immediately realized that this illusion true. The level of ability may be indistinguishable from Hila. Well, this man is too strong for him. The more he struggles, the tighter the rope becomes annoying. He wonders if he can be beaten. However, after that, here today with someone he hasn't seen, the notification that appears now he has fallen into the illusion is making judgment through judgment. He is immune to this illusion. Then all ties are released. But then a gun is pointed at him, and he blows a whistle as this name also started to appear. Bye-bye Zero. He didn't finish his sentence before he ran away from the gun, dodging at such a close distance. Then he used the opportunity to counterattack, making it impossible for him to fight back. And then he cursed silently that it was because of fake intelligence. Why did he say that he was only as strong as the guard he used genuine moves to control him, but this time failed even more as Feng Jun led someone to help him? He had already defeated that person. When he arrived, he asked about your situation. Sorry, he is not responsible. He is not blaming his brother. This person is the executive officer of the Germinal organization. However, as a super assassin who has never been defeated before, Feng Jun says that he is too strong to be defeated by this assassin. He completes the assassination mission and receives a lecture character card. They ride the car and return to the base to report. If the assassin finds his location, other organizations also know Feng Jun thinks it's not certain because hackers from the intelligence department have blocked the network. And then, simultaneously carrying out filtering programming and artificial introduction of any news related to him, not allowed to spread outside the Western capitals, Han Xiao smiled and asked if he was sure, but the assassin would not act on his own. The information must have been given to the spies in the Western capital. Even though there was a network blockade, they could also spread the news out from here themselves. He chased Feng Jun out of the car. He went to catch him so the other party didn't know his exact location. And then, his uncle asked for a tall building to blockade the fort. He said no to make a fuss. No one knew where the spy was. Of course he knew who the spy was, but when he reached the place, he ran away. He guessed he was going to the border, so the two went there quickly. When he got there, he was arrested by the border guards, thanks to the fact that he had sketched her portrait. And then, before he sent him back to the base, as he was driving with the photo, one could easily recognize him. In the Germinal organization that informed the captain that there was a change of Zero's location in the Western capital. The scope had shrunk after publishing the beta for guild members to the Capital West. They will definitely be able to find it. Then this B rank reward could definitely help their reclamation progress to lead other teams by a large margin. The angry leader was Zero, thinking that if he could find support, he would not be able to face him. He ordered to listen to Zero's location. Even if he fled to the Triad headquarters, he had to find him. 200 night owls, 5 executors, waiting for orders any time after he see the exact location, immediately kill him. Allow a short-range ballistic maneuver. By all means, the other party, Xiao, saw that the trial period had ended as he expected. Previously, the real time during the version update was not the same as the time in the game. The people in the 13th Bureau were angry and asked him how much more intelligence he kept from them. He did not answer this question, but turned to something else he already knew, even though they didn't. Know where he lives, but they can be sure that he is in the Western capital and will definitely send someone to kill him in the future. It was too dangerous. He told everyone he could create something that would change his appearance, saying he could do it. After he came back, he looked for the old man in the shop to borrow a book. Thanks to the book made the most perfect mask. Today, the captain asked him if he had submitted the report. The two talked for a while, then someone came to see. He said that he had shown it to. He previously thought that this action was dangerous, whether he did something that changed his face. When he put on the mask, everyone present was shocked, as if he had become a completely different person. However, without anyone noticing, the person who had just entered and was praised actually couldn't see his true light anymore. This thing isn't bad. Can you sell the image to the Bureau? He refused. It was just a mask with no image. Whatever. Can't that person think for a moment, then said yes? Xiao was glad he had tricked them. This mask of his could not only produce random appearances, and then he can also scan other people's faces and then back up. But this function he will keep secret. When it matters, it will be his trump card. He goes and announces that he will act together. However, after that, half a month later, everyone was prepared. Previously, he told the captain to give him the upgraded armor later to help the captain increase the energy efficiency of the revised dynamic mode to reduce the weight. He would fill the frame inside the motorbike, increase its support. Then there was a surveillance system used to investigate the outside situation, a fire control system. When the captain heard it, that he was very happy and agreed to let him do it. Thanks to this armor, he gained a lot of experience from grenades, time-lapse to sabers and parachutes. There were many other things with powers that people did not expect. The equipment this time could definitely give them a surprise. Detailing the actions this time for everyone to understand, this action is a cooperative action with the Hesla Intelligence Agency. The Hesla soldiers stationed at the border can move at any time. Their mission is to infiltrate ambushes and investigate the enemy defense layout and provide intelligence to the army. But the place they were going to was in a deep forest, which could not be detected by drones. Using drones was the most difficult thing for everyone. Currently, the enemy's strength was unknown, and their actual location was also unknown. This time's War 1 could only penetrate from the ground. It sounds like a strict gender. Fort Command Su asks if the Hesla army can attack from the ground. But because they don't agree, the base has 3 characters to pay attention to the martial arts class overview. Pan Kwang Yi, his weapon is a sword nicknamed Soul Sword. Deputy Manager Jia. Very little information about this person. Guard Captain Doman's skill in using a rifle as a super elite commando. This time, Hesla also had to go to the intelligence department's special commando force. After arriving at the location, they would act together with everyone. The captain was afraid that the commandos of the 2 families would act together. But after that, didn't he say that to make things chaotic? Everyone kept talking when he found that there was a black earthworm. People ambush animals started shooting at it, but its armor was too thick to attack it and rushed to control it. He suggested people use fire and destroy it instantly. However, everyone arrived, and a man from the Hesla Intelligence Agency came to pick them up. He said the process here wasn't complicated. He just reported to the Komian when he was ready to live. Lin Yao said that he didn't know if he was hallucinating the gazes of the soldiers outside holding them, as if they wanted to eliminate. And they and their Komian, also quite cold captain, said that since everyone fought with Hesla before, they have no sympathy for everyone. Lin Yao's side can only carry out the mission seriously. Rest in this ragged place. First see people talk like that? He said he wanted to go out for a smoke. The captain agreed to let him go. Not even smoking. The reason for going out was to observe the situation. He received a barrack mission. Xiao was happy because it was his first barracks mission. Regular battle missions would be based on completion of the prize distribution. So far, the prizes were always generous. He had to perform well to get a good deal. A girl came and asked if he was from the Star Dragon team. Han Xiao gave short answer, let's say. He attacked her. But she didn't dodge. He said he thought she wouldn't dare, so he stabbed her in the neck with a knife right away. After the protective armor appeared, he couldn't do anything about it. He introduced himself as Wen Na from the intelligence agency and left his Komian standing above watching everything happen in the presence of the commando's investigation. And then, there was no disarmament or further conflict. His strength and eyesight were both good. After completing the mission, he immediately reported back. He gathered everyone to go near Crow. There was their base. The Komian said logistics vehicles. They were cool. He also had at the base. There he gathered with everyone. In the other car, they didn't have logistics vehicle. The captain also said that he was too open-minded. It was okay to have a mechanic in the team. Again, he could ride in the car. He drove. Him felt very rare. Today he drove very well. As soon as he drove to find the eyes that made him vomit until his face turned blue. Told him that they were behind and hurry up. He said there was nothing to catch up. But even though they ran fast, they still had to wait for everyone. There, he said, maybe Han Xiao's car engineering was too bad. But Lambert said that Hesla 5 times 7 times challenged them not to lose. The captain saw the reason and ordered him to immediately chase Lin Yalan, now afraid to tell the captain that he doesn't need it, and everyone will regret it. Everyone who got there still hasn't fully recovered. Upon arrival, Yifan had a brief meeting before the battle. Now they had 2 missions. One was to pretend to be nomads and infiltrate the city to investigate the situation. And then, the second was to find the strange guards near the Crow base to interrogate them. For intelligence, the Heslanen chose to get information from the guards, Han Xiao thought. Once he started stealing missions, those people were not familiar with Crow. It was difficult to get intelligence to return. Without said, it could still be in danger. Finding guards is much easier. People don't talk also know the benefits in it. In the fake rogue casino Crow, this place was previously appointed by Han Xiao. There he said he really has a bald head. As he said, Li Yalin rushed to attack the man didn't move. He watched the follow-up. Here it seemed there was nothing special. And then, he again handed over the observation task to Lin Yao, and he wanted to sleep to recuperate that night. When Nas's people also went to attack, the guards as planned, after a while asking how he quickly came back to show him. An easy task to complete. The Devil's Firewall can't even take a single hit. While the Heslanens are in town about to eat everyone, the German base is haunted. The official there receives a report that the external network has been compromised. Some of the base's coordinate data has been taken. He tells everyone not to worry about the bait being released, just wait for the fish to bite. The swordsman sitting next to him reminded him that a hacker had infiltrated the network in the guise of perhaps an unknowing person. Perhaps there was an army infiltrating. Recently, even though the enemy only took the bait, the base was open. He asked the leader to leave with the goods, his personal belongings, and documents from this place further before going to try to destroy the enemy. And then, the next morning, the Hesla team went to find everyone early. They showed off their easy victory. Han Xiao suspected it was not fake news when Nas said that he could only say these words out of intuitive jealousy. This was not real news. But there was a big possibility that it was fake news. But he had no proof if those people didn't believe it and looked down on everyone. And then he will take matters into his own hands. He went to the border to kill the guards present there, killing so many fine guards. The base will probably send someone to look at it soon. Then Han Xiao had set a trap, waiting for people to come when he arrived and was defeated by him. The radio next to him spoke. He picked it up and pretended to be a soldier to answer. Even his face now resembled the soldier he had just defeated. Did not expect the face copy function of the mask. Optics were so fast. Had a spot. He asked if he had detected the enemy. He answered that no traces were found. The person immediately ordered him to return to the base in the base. It was everyone counting the number of soldiers who died in the last attack. A total of 13 guards were ambushed. After receiving intelligence left at the border exploration base, he thought that these people were too careful. The assistant said that if they were more careful, there was no point in standing in front of the bait. They would definitely fall obediently into the trap. The leader had arranged the advance and retreat. The reinforcement troops would arrive in 5 days. Until then, he could retreat. Before that would prepare a great reward to Hesla. Soldier Han Xiao thought that Scout 2 still could not be settled in this base. There must be something wrong. The staff gathered supplies and prepared to leave. Only the soldiers behind him thought according to common sense that the wrong people Hesla had infiltrated yesterday. Times this was enough for everyone to leave. But no one left. Xiao installed a device that started tracking them. While watching, he saw two people entering the warehouse inside. There was a secret door. Xiao decided to go with these people to investigate. And then he sneaked in to take their 2 ID cards under the pretext of going to return the cards, which could easily fit inside. When he got to a deserted area, he called them back to return the cards, and then attacked. He didn't kill them both, but tied them up to a large tree and started asking for information. The 2 men now knew that he was not from the base. They shouted for the guards, but this place was quiet and secluded. No one heard them. On the other hand, everyone, based on the information Hessler's team got the day before this morning, prepared to leave as planned. Xiao could not be found when Hesla and the others knew that everyone didn't leave to wait for him. They started to suspect if he was an insider yesterday when he got the intelligence. He denied it today and disappeared. He brought this back and told the command, and he said this will be discussed with the Star Dragon team, and now leave immediately. Fans say that if the army will go into use, then special agent teams will stay in secret bases and will be in danger. It is okay for him to sacrifice one or another team for strategic purposes. And then, on the other side, Xiao saw that the withdrawal time had passed and contacted the captain. Once again, report the situation. He to the captain, and also secret intelligence. The captain decided to discuss this with the Hesta Komian. He did not believe what he said, still maintained the decision, originally to attack Xiao's gate. The 2 people he had previously forced to immediately leave the area. Everyone outside was currently meeting him and asking about the situation. But there was no time for nonsense. He went straight to the point of giving orders to everyone. Lin Yao and Lambert, the 2 took their cards and entered the plan. The base's germinal retreat needs to be investigated. Li Yalan drove him to approach the base to make a mask. Lin Yao's friend was afraid to say that he had never been a spy before. Can he change people? He said that he was the only one hacker who couldn't get in who could replace him inside the base. They were both afraid of being exposed. Lin Yao asked if he wouldn't be exposed. But he couldn't stop being nervous. Lambert reminded him that the more stressed he was, the easier it would be to reveal when peace came in. Lin Yao didn't stop sweating. This was a secret base. Xiao said there was indeed a base inside. Towards the base, armed personnel from the outer base have entered the blockable defense zone. For a while, Lambert quickly informed Xiao, Hesla, and Germinal will start a war. Everyone retreat. The captain heard that and was very angry. And then, because it was too much, that Hessler's people dared to come out first, help them get secret intelligence, that bastard didn't care about everyone's life or death. This place was too close to the crowd base. Easily hit by bullets, he asked Li Yalan to leave immediately. But they soon found the people behind, quickly chasing the car in front of Xiao. Not only that they were chased by enemy vehicles, but Hessler's people also attacked Xiao's car. Komi and Xiao scolded Hesla too much, warning him to wait. And then, the 3rd department to ask for responsibility. He said he was not working. When it was Star Dragon's turn, waving his hands and feet, he ordered to take Xiao to find a doctor in the Hessler Joint Logistics team. After the wound was bandaged, he wanted to continue outside, but was stopped by a soldier. You are not allowed to leave. The colonel asked him to stay and recuperate. He also wanted to detain him. Colonel. He did not listen to his orders. The soldier then added that his chief officer also assigned him to look after him and rest in peace. And then it seemed that the commander didn't want him to go out on the front line anymore. He contacted Lin Yao, asking him to report the situation of the outer base. Ambushing Hesla's other soldiers were preparing to withdraw. The specific route not yet heard, just to be able to follow the retreat to find out. He said that the defense arrangements of the Hesla base were fake. If they acted according to the intelligence, they would definitely suffer heavy losses. Xiao told him not to tell those people they were, even almost blowing him up. But after that, Lin Yao heard the news and was also very angry, so they dared to kill everyone's hearts, and there was no need to help them anymore. Currently, Hesla and the others were still fighting earnestly with the thought of securing victory in their hands. It was true that with intelligence everything is easier. But they do not know that they will be attacked in the near future and suffer greatly. The current victims, they believed that what Xiao said was true. It was too late, leader. Hesla wanted to find him, but he crippled 2 soldiers and left behind Germinal and the others. Overjoyed at the successful execution of their plan, it was good the core members retreated smoothly. Next, invite Hesla to receive a reward. They are leaders after leaving the base. Blowing everything up at this time, Komen and Hesla panic. And then, he kept asking if he was still alive. There was a large amount of explosives hidden in the base that had just been blown up, and the base was destroyed by the army. Hesla soldiers were buried alive, and suffered very serious losses. The hatred in the last moment he was exposed. The enemy attack caused the insignificant casualty documents inside the base to also be completely destroyed. He was afraid that the superiors would chase him because of the command and would not be able to escape. He quickly contacted 33 departments to understand the situation. He learned inside that 2 of Han Xiao's comrades infiltrated to the enemy's line of retreat. However, after confirming the route that everyone would tell him that he was a slightly lighter loss, beyond the event that only increased results could be made up for destroying the enemy's core troops, was his last chance. He ordered the army to assemble and immediately approach the headquarters. The enemy to wait for the leader's orders, on the other hand, is still excited and independent. And then, he stated the intelligent Tesla ended up being beaten like a dog. The swordsman walking beside him advised him not to let his guard down immediately. After being attacked, he couldn't understand why the people Hesla knew about this place without a chance to think. The swordsman sent him away. Not his opponent was too much, and they couldn't fight back. If surrounded, it would eventually be consumed. Even though he quickly fled, he couldn't escape. Han Xiao both ran up the hill with his car following, nearby as he had planned before. The stretch of road had been bombed by Han Xiao to extend the time below. He got out of the car not far from somewhere and used a gun to attack the 2 of them. Pan Kuang 10. The swordsman heard the gunshots coming. From the other side, without thinking much, he rushed towards the sound of the gunshots and killed this person. But after that, he thought that the shooter just now would not escape. In fact, he was surprised by his speed. Pan Kuang chased him too fast. He shot him with a gun, but he avoided them all. Han Xiao secretly thought this person's movements were good. He could only avoid him temporarily. First, Pan Kuang laughed. It was too late to run. Now, yes, you want him to follow you. He connected below where he stood was the number of bombs he planted. Han Xiao detonated all the bombs, but only dealt a little damage to him. The difference between his level and his was too big. He couldn't get too much information from this toolbar. And even though Pan Kuang was 10 levels higher than him, his status wasn't good. And then, he will use this opportunity to kill him. He is too fast to dodge his attack. Not his body's endurance condition is too high. Normal weapons can't deal any damage to him. At this point, he wants to exchange high heat bullets. Sure enough, it's possible to attack him with bullets high heat, but the ammunition was quickly running out. He used this moment to take out his sword and slashed at her neck. Luckily, it was protected by armor that couldn't be cut by a sword. He recovered his protective strength, ate too much of himself and had to rush to win. Just now his simulation mask also expired. He could only fight him once. After the mask disappeared, Pan Kuang realized that he was zero. He said to choose close combat. Are you afraid you won't die quickly? Grenade that extended time and high-temperature bullets consumed half of his life. As long as he continued to attack, there would be a possibility of him rushing over to hug her tightly. And then, he asked, if he felt he could withstand it, then stopped the powerful force dropping him hitting a nearby tree. Han Xiao painfully hugged his arm. If not for the second machine. With the alloy, he was afraid his arm would be disabled. He could see that his power path was definitely not just like before. It seemed the power consumption of too many items had lowered his attack. Effectively, the leg armor's durability could last for a while, continuing to attack. Pan Kuang was really tired. His chance had arrived. He used his previous assassin ability to attack using illusions to defeat him. Then, easily defeated Pan Kuang, he knew that the Germinal leader was watching him fight. Now, Han Xian raised 4 fingers, indicating that he had destroyed his 4 bases. He asked where he got the intelligence. Do you think you can rely on this trick to weaken his power? Too naive. He kicked his car and killed him, and at will, and there were many executive officers in the organization that he could not consume. Even though he said that he immediately threw everything on the table, the price for killing him increased to 5 million. At the Star Dragon meeting, they were quite confused because Han Xiao was really good at causing trouble. After the meeting room quieted down, they started talking about Han Xiao, who was still missing. They had checked the tracker inserted into his cell phone, but the signal had disappeared 24 hours ago. He was sure that Han Xiao had found the tracker and released him. They finally decided to call Lin Yao, their teammate. After being asked whether Han Xiao had contacted him, Lin Yao answered that he had been contacted this morning. He also asked what Han Xiao said. Lin Yao said that Han Xiao said he would hide by himself. They were confused about Han Xiao, and thought that perhaps Han Xiao was afraid that they would not be able to protect him, or he finds an excuse to run away. Not long after, they discovered that Han Xiao's bounty on the dark net had been updated. Now his bounty has risen to 5 million. 5 times higher than before. They were surprised that Germinal could find out about Dark Crow's operation until they found out about it. In the end, they decided that if Han Xiao ran away because he was afraid that Germinal would seek revenge, that was reasonable. So right now, they would set Han Xiao's identity as an agent for now and hide news about him from the outside world, and then send a team to look for him. In the city of Morning Wing Hesla, Han Xiao was enjoying his meal at a restaurant. While eating his food, he thought that he still had a lot to do in the 3 months before the open beta. So he had to complete several special missions before other players because the prizes were valuable skills and talents. Fortunately, he remembered the general process of the missions. Then he must secure a connection for material supplies and gain experience by building machines while completing missions. Han Xiao had already exchanged the retractable blade blueprint for the Farian Group's black gold card, so short-term supply would not be a problem, and he had to take the time to cause trouble with Germinal. More importantly, he must increase the prize quota for each mission issued, so that players can use it after the open beta, and the most efficient way to do that is to increase legendary points. Han Xiao finally finished drinking his wine and started walking away. Han Xiao thought, even if he didn't have legendary points, as long as he could utilize the rules of collecting legendary points, he would be successful in 3 months. Han Xiao then came to visit the Hesla branch of the Farian Group in Morning Wind City. After giving him his card, Han Xiao asked the receptionist to give him the materials on the list. Han Xiao had saved a lot of money in Star Dragon, so he thought that he did not have to worry about money to buy materials. He felt happy because having money was fun. After calculating Han Xiao's total purchase price, the receptionist said that the items would be sent to Han Xiao's room later. After that, Han Xiao also asked for a Blood Pact Society certificate found on the dark net. After being told the price, Han Xiao paid it. The dark net is a hotbed of underworld information. The Blood Pact Society is a criminal organization run by the dark net. One could become a hitman with a certificate. Players usually call it the Assassin Union. Among all the ways to get legendary points, the easiest way is to become the top rank in a certain ranking. For example, the Assassin ranking in the Assassin Union. Han Xiao now came to visit Thalia's hotel. Hotel Thalia has many branches in all major cities in 6 countries, and this hotel is controlled by the dark net. When Han Xiao came to the hotel receptionist, the receptionist apologized because all the rooms were occupied. People without a certificate actually won't be able to get a room here. As soon as he heard the rejection from the hotel receptionist, Han Xiao took out the Blood Pact Society certificate he bought and showed it to the hotel receptionist. As soon as the hotel receptionist saw that, he immediately asked Han Xiao to follow him. Han Xiao was brought by the hotel receptionist to register. As soon as he arrived at his desk, the receptionist asked Han Xiao to fill in his personal data and determine Han Xiao's nickname. When Han Xiao answered Apostolic Observer of Crimson Dynasty in Colton Star Cluster as his nickname, the hotel receptionist became confused and asked Han Xiao to give a shorter nickname. Han Xiao finally decided to use the nickname Black. Unfortunately, that nickname has already been taken, so he changed it to Mr. Black. Han Xiao's registration as a new assassin had finally been completed. The hotel receptionist then explained that Han Xiao had to complete a mission to be promoted to Scorpion level. He can accept public, private requests, or become a bounty hunter. They will take 5% of the bounty rewards. He then offered Han Xiao to check his mission list. Upon seeing that, Han Xiao was shocked. He saw his wanted list as Zero, who had a bounty of 5 million. He didn't think he was so famous. Because the Germinal organization was looking for him in the western capital. Han Xiao laughed inside because their efforts would be in vain. Han Xiao then accepted a mission that had a reward of 100,000 yuan. He felt that it was quite a bit, so he thought that maybe someone who couldn't afford to hire a senior assassin and tried his luck on a junior like him. But Han Xiao thought that this was not a problem, because missions with small rewards don't seem like a hassle. Han Xiao also accepted the mission. Later, Han Xiao came to meet the client of the request he received. The target was Yue Yuju, who was located in Morning Wing City and had 20 guards. But Han Xiao thought the rewards were too small. His client, Chang Shansui. but he didn't have much money. Han Xiao still accepted the request and asked the client to wait here. Not long after, the assassination mission entrusted by Cheng Shanshui was active. When asked by Feng Jun how long the mission would take to complete, Han Xiao answered that the target would die after Feng Jun's food ran out. Seeing Han Xiao walking away, Feng Jun wondered if Han Xiao could be relied on. Suddenly, someone touched Feng Jun's shoulder from behind. That person turned out to be another hitman. He said that he had thought about it and decided to accept his previous mission request because recently he had been short of money. But unfortunately, his mission has been taken by someone else. The assassin said goodbye and told Feng Jun that he could go see him if he needed anything else. While walking, the killer received a call from Yue Yuju. Yue Yuju asked if he had time to go on a mission. After seeing his target, the assassin was shocked. He thought that this was really lucky. The hitman answered that it was just a trivial matter. However, when Yue Yuju was about to send the deposit, he suddenly heard the sound of a gunshot. The assassin tried to call Yue Yuju, but it was useless because she was already dead. Yue Yuju's subordinates immediately panicked because Yue Yuju had been killed. It has been preceded. Yue Yuju had a lot of bodyguards and the amount Chang Shanshui offered was small. So he thought the least Chang Shanshui could be was a newbie. He wanted to know which newbie could kill Yue Yuju so quickly. The police have secured the area around the building owned by Yue Yuju. Curious residents came to examine the crime scene. The police were sure that the killer could not escape at this time of day. But with the facial simulator, Han Xiao was able to leave without anyone knowing. Han Xiao finally returned to report the results of his assignment to Chang Shanshui. Chang Shanshui was so impressed that Han Xiao killed him before he finished his meal. He then gave the task reward to Han Xiao and asked Han Xiao to check it. But Han Xiao said that there was no need because he had to go back to report this to his superiors. When Han Xiao was about to leave, he felt that someone was spying on him. After looking for where the person was, Han Xiao found him. He then issued killing intent towards that person. The assassin was immediately shocked. He could feel that Han Xiao's killing intent was very strong and thought that this rookie was very dangerous. Because the client had confirmed the murder, Han Xiao was now informed that he had become a scorpion-level assassin and gained more authority. Starting today, Han Xiao will have the privileges of the main VIP at the Thalia Hotel. The hotel receptionist then said that this was her first time seeing a novice assassin become an experienced assassin in such a short time. So she was looking forward to Han Xiao's next performance. Out of curiosity, Han Xiao asked what his ranking was on the Darknet leaderboard. The hotel receptionist also told him that only the best assassins could rank on the leaderboard, and that there were at least 1,000 people whose ranking was much higher than Han Xiao. So he advises not to bite off more than he can chew. Han Xiao remembered that the top 10 had an average level of 40, and they were not that extraordinary. Only the assassins ranked in the top 3 were scary enough, and they almost reached the highest level in version 1.0. Additionally, assassins will be ranked based on their previous missions and experience. Seeing Han Xiao's expression, the hotel receptionist thought that Han Xiao had become gloomy because of what he had just said. So he tried to comfort Han Xiao and said that based on Han Xiao's performance in this first mission, he believed Han Xiao would have a bright future. Han Xiao decided to complete as many missions as possible to increase his ranking and asked the hotel receptionist for a list of missions. The receptionist became happy because Han Xiao was excited and gave her the list. He advised Han Xiao to take the easiest ones first and slowly increase the difficulty of the missions. Han Xiao then chose the mission he wanted to do. The hotel receptionist thought that Han Xiao had received an easy mission, but her eyes immediately widened when she saw the mission that Han Xiao had taken. The mission he took was the extermination of the Rose Army. There is even a history of 3 assassins who failed this mission and died. The hotel receptionist scolded Han Xiao and asked if he didn't understand what an easy mission was. Many experienced assassins had died because of this mission. So he did not believe that Han Xiao, who was just a novice assassin, could have the confidence to carry out this mission. But Han Xiao asked the hotel receptionist to just take care of it because he knew his own abilities very clearly. After hearing Han Xiao's request, the hotel receptionist stamped the mission contract and put it into the container. He had said everything he knew. So he asked Han Xiao not to blame him for not warning from the start. He then dropped it into a tube that carried the contract to the information processor. The employee who received the contract also updated the Rose Army's mission. Mission registration has been successfully carried out. Seeing the mission, Han Xiao did not expect that this mission had a special reward, so he thought that this mission was not as simple as it seemed. As he walked away, he thought that he should be careful when dealing with the mercenaries in the desert. For his safety, Han Xiao decided to upgrade his equipment before going there. At the Farian Group headquarters, Han Xiao was checking his profile. His main profession had reached the highest level, and the requirements for job class promotion were also easy this time. He thought there was no need for him to use experience points to create random blueprints just to fulfill his job class promotion requirements. It's not easy to get experience points. Moreover, class promotions can be done at any time. Han Xiao was currently merging various kinds of bullets. He thought that he had no companions for the next mission, so he had to strengthen his bullets so that they could support him in solo combat in various environments in the future. The Rose Army is an organization of female mercenaries whose headquarters is located deep in the Somal Desert. Their weapons are very good, and they also have several mechanics there. So Han Xiao planned to create several different weapons later. He then succeeded in developing electromagnetic scanning googles. Not something Han Xiao wanted, but it would be quite useful for killing snipers. After doing it once again, Han Xiao then developed the electromagnetic pulse interferometer. Han Xiao became excited because he got a famous weapon. He can use this to deal with enemy vehicles in the desert later. He then thought that the mines would be useful in the fight in the desert later, so he will try how great his creation blueprint is. He also built things. Assessments continued to fail, but in the end, Han Xiao succeeded in developing the self-made blueprint, and his minefield was finally finished. Han Xiao was almost ready. With this, Han Xiao could begin his mission. He then opened his cell phone and called Antonio. He told Antonio that he needed his ammunition transport plane. But Antonio said that they only use transport planes for big problems. Even if Han Xiao gave a black gold VIP card, Han Xiao would still have to pay. After receiving Han Xiao's confirmation, he asked how many people he wanted to transport, and when. Han Xiao replied that only he would use it and needed it now. Antonio was stunned because Han Xiao was so extravagant because it cost $50,000. But it doesn't need to be considered at all. Han Xiao also arrived by helicopter. As written in the intelligence, the Rose Army headquarters is very tightly guarded and difficult to penetrate. Han Xiao thought that it would not be easy to attack it either by post or by infiltrating it. Han Xiao then asked Antonio to provide an off-road vehicle for him after landing. After dropping off Han Xiao, Antonio told him there was a Farian base to the west, so he would come there to finish his business. On the Rose Army side, someone named Dorothy was asked if there was still no new news. They had searched areas E4, E5, and D4, but there was no sign of Feronia. Additionally, Wenli and Cece both die. His friends also felt sad because they had lost many colleagues in this search mission. He didn't understand why they had to sacrifice so many people to look for Feronia. He didn't even know what Feronia was. Hearing that, the old woman grabbed his shoulder and asked if he was not a local. He said that in ancient times, there was a kingdom that was built in an oasis. The people who live there live in peace. However, this place was destroyed because of a war. There is a legend that says that deep in the desert there was another civilization that lived there millions of years ago, and there were artifacts that could control the desert. Many people came here in search of the ruins called Feronia, and the wanderers who lost their homes in the war, like them, were all mercenaries and their agent. They risked their lives to search for Feronia for them, and in return, they provide resources for them to survive and protect their families. That was the agreement between them. Feronia was their chance to live. In the distance, Han Xiao had made preparations. Using his binoculars, Han Xiao found his prey and started hiding. After their car stepped on a mine planted by Han Xiao, an EMP explosion occurred. They immediately realized that they had been attacked. Dorothy wondered whether it was the Golden Organization that was attacking, but it was strange because they never pursued it this far. Dorothy came down and told the others to get down and prepare to fight. At the Rose Army headquarters, after finding out the cause of his subordinate's death, the leader of the Rose Army, Luo Qing, came to the conclusion that the perpetrator must be alone and a sniper. He also asked if there were other killers taking this mission. He turned on his cell phone and made a call. He told the person on the phone that there was another killer here and that they had lost more than 20 people. Therefore, he asked to send someone to deal with the killer. After the call was finished, Luo Qing smiled because he was sure that the culprit was now his prey. After some time, a group of professional assassins had arrived via helicopter. They were Erwu, Ersan, and Erju. Ersan crossed his arms and asked what was wrong. Luoqing bowed respectfully and said that the enemy was a sniper, and his preparations were quite thorough. The perpetrator drove southeast. In that direction there are 3 strong organizations, and the closest one is the Farian Group headquarters. Su Li, a Rose Army mechanic, reported that there were several mine fragments at the scene. The enemy knew very well their style of doing things, and set a trap before launching the action. He also informed that the enemy was using a new type of bomb, and the shell of the bomb was made from materials from the Farian Group. After hearing the report, Ersan said that they couldn't offend Farian's group. Therefore they couldn't attack them. Because the target of the perpetrator was the Rose Army, Ersan said that they had to be the bait. He told them to travel as usual, and they would surround him. As long as his opponent made a move, Ersan believed they would definitely kill him. Luoqing also ordered Gi Hu to do as Ersan said. At the Farian Group headquarters, Han Xiao discovered that the Rose Army had some backing. He was not surprised that so many assassins were killed on this mission. He was told that all the armed forces in the Somel Desert had financial backers, and that those backers were a group of politicians who ran a secret training ground for assassins. And Han Xiao's client is currently supported by the Chadros family. Since there were so many people looking for Feronia, Han Xiao was curious about what it really was, but he acted like he didn't know what it was. Of course, Han Xiao doubted that. He believed there must be an important secret behind Feronia, and thought perhaps the hidden reward on this mission was related to it. Now that they had supporters, Han Xiao believed that they would definitely send troops to help. Han Xiao thought about what he should do now. Because he had to shoot and couldn't drive at the same time, Han Xiao asked him to be the driver. But he refused because this was not his mission. He had no reason to help Han Xiao. Han Xiao also said that they rarely went on excursions, and it was not good for him to just stay at the base, because he also had to enjoy the beautiful scenery outside. He was also annoyed with Han Xiao, who said this. Han Xiao then said, "Don't be fooled just by external appearances. He might see some really nice views on the way." But he said that they were not that close, and Han Xiao replied that he was giving him a chance to be his friend. He then stirred his coffee, and while drinking the coffee, he said that if Han Xiao wanted him to join him, then according to the rules, he would also have to be paid. Hearing that, Han Xiao agreed and offered 5% of the total payment received. But he refused and said that it was too little. The driver is the enemy's main target, so he asks for 20%. Han Xiao also asked why he didn't just rob him, and he answered that he was doing that. Having no other choice, Han Xiao accepted the deal. At the Rose Army headquarters, they found that the target was seen in Area C. Ersan approached the screen and couldn't believe that the perpetrator had really come here. He then mocked Han Xiao because he tried the same trick again. Ersan then ordered the decoy squad to leave. Inside his vehicle, Han Xiao saw the enemy vehicle starting to move. Han Xiao also told him to go southwest immediately. At that time, Ersan was watching using his binoculars. He was very excited because his prey appeared and told them to kill Han Xiao. While being chased by enemy vehicles, Han Xiao tried to shoot to fight back. Gui Hu, who was confident because his opponent only had one vehicle, ordered the others to chase Han Xiao. Realizing that his opponent was trying to surround him, Han Xiao thought that he would not allow it. But he was surprised. He quickly used a visor to protect his head from bullets. Because they were surrounded, Han Xiao ordered an immediate retreat to the rendezvous point. As they try to leave, they are surprised to find an enemy ahead. The excited Erwu started peppering Han Xiao's vehicle with bullets. He was desperately driving and avoiding the explosion. They almost perished. He then changed the car's gear and started driving again. Erwu, who witnessed that, would not let that happen. They started to feel cornered because there were enemies everywhere. Han Xiao began to look at his surroundings. He then discovered that there was only one vehicle in the south direction. He thought the risk would be less that way. The troops avoided his trap, so Han Xiao thought he could break through in this direction. But he was worried that their shots would trigger the mines to activate, and if that happened, then he would definitely die. Not long after, Han Xiao was surprised to see an armored vehicle running towards them, starting to panic because I have to escape now. Han Xiao also tried to bet this time and told him to drive south. He swerved and started pressing the gas. Erju, who saw Han Xiao coming towards him, laughed and said that they would not be able to run. But Han Xiao shot something at Erju and blinded her eyes with a flashbang. Because his eyes were in pain, Erju was very angry with Han Xiao. He then showered Han Xiao with bullets again. On the way, Han Xiao's vehicle hit the opponent's car. Ersan naturally would not let Han Xiao escape and chased after him. Han Xiao also ordered to use the nitro booster. He pressed the button and activated the nitro booster. Han Xiao's vehicle sped away quickly. He was happy because he managed to escape, but the armored vehicle that Erju was riding in was still following them. Han Xiao's enemies were sure that Han Xiao would not be able to go anywhere. But Han Xiao pressed a button on the remote, causing an electric explosion. After the explosion subsided, Erju asked what happened. They found that their car had broken down. Guihu finds that the communication device is also not working. He concludes that this must be because of the EMP. Erju also told them to calm down because they only had one car and ordered them to prepare their weapons. However, Guihu remembered when they found all the electronic components in Dorothy's car destroyed. Guihu was starting to worry that this was a trap. As he ran out, he saw a mine near them. Guihu was shocked and told the others to run away because they were in trouble. But it was all too late. Han Xiao fired his rifle at the mine. Guihu panicked and started running away from the vehicle that was about to explode. Guihu quickly dived into the sand to protect himself. Not long afterward, there was a very large explosion. Han Xiao, who watched this from afar, said that he bet they definitely did not expect this to happen. In fact, he said it had been a long time since he last saw a beautiful view like this. Han Xiao also told him to enjoy the view. At the same time, Han Xiao checked his system window. He felt happy because he got an extraordinary harvest. Han Xiao felt like laughing when he saw their names, but he realized that this kill notification missed an enemy's name that appeared in the previous damage notification. Han Xiao began to monitor the surrounding situation. Not far from him, there was something driving through the ground. At that moment, Han Xiao prepared his gun. Guihu then readied his knife and jumped into the air. Using his momentum, he tried to slash at her neck, but was stopped easily. He then threw Guihu as a counterattack. While Guihu was still in the air, Han Xiao shot Guihu several times. Finally, the system notified him that he had killed Guihu. Han Xiao smiled and said that the fugitive was finally caught. When asked what Han Xiao's next plan was, he answered that he would go to the Rose Army headquarters and finish them off. They had already suffered defeat after fighting with him, so Han Xiao believed that their enemy would definitely take advantage of this opportunity to attack the Rose Army. What he had to do next was wait for their fight to finish and harvest the fruits of their labor. He also asked whether Han Xiao planned all this. Han Xiao answered of course not. He said that they thought that Han Xiao was just setting a trap, but they didn't know that he acted when his preparations were already very thorough. Hearing that, he laughed and praised that this was truly an extraordinary fight. But he couldn't waste his time here, so he said goodbye to go back and wished Han Xiao good luck. He then said that if Han Xiao needed anything, the Farian group would always be ready to serve him. After waiting for a while, Han Xiao saw that the battle had finally begun. Troops from the Golden Organization try to get the Rose Army out of the Samal Desert, and the Rose Army returns fire to drive them away. Explosions occurred everywhere, and bullets flew everywhere. Due to numerical defeat, the Rose Army was defeated. Luo Qing's subordinates also informed him that the enemy would break through soon. Because now was the Rose Army's weakest moment, Luo Qing was sure that other organizations would see them as their target. Having no choice, Luo Qing thought that he should let the other members buy time for him. Luo Qing then ordered to take 5 people with him, and they would retreat through the secret passage. He decided to give up this base. The battle had ended, but Han Xiao did not receive any notification that the mission had been completed. He believed that meant the core members must have escaped. He then used a drone to look for fleeing enemies. Not long after, he found what he was looking for. Inside the vehicle, Luo Qing felt a little relieved because they would arrive at the neutral zone in a moment. But suddenly there was an explosion near their vehicle. Luo Qing was surprised that the enemy had caught up to them this quickly. Then he was even more surprised when he saw his thorns chasing them. Luo Qing also punched the dashboard of the vehicle. He was very upset because the killer stole the thorns. Cornered, Luo Qing had no choice but to order to flee because they couldn't withstand the power of the thorns' combat weapons. Han Xiao continuously bombarded the vehicle that Luo Qing was driving with explosive bullets. Not far away, a boy and an old woman who were with Dorothy earlier witnessed this. The boy looked interested in watching the battle, but the old woman scolded him and told him not to get involved in anything else, because otherwise he would get shot. The old woman reminds her that she has often said this, but they just have to focus on finding Feronia. Han Xiao felt irritated because his opponent was really good at escaping. He continuously bombarded Luo Qing's vehicle with explosions, but suddenly his explosions caused a hole to open and a sand vortex to occur. The old woman was stunned to see this. At the same time, the system notified that Han Xiao discovered the hidden area of Feronia, and the hidden mission had been successfully completed. Han Xiao was also happy because this was very surprising, but right now his main priority was the Rose Army's bounty. So he rode through the hidden area. The fleeing Rose Army now began to increase their distance. Han Xiao was annoyed because the thorns were really too slow. Han Xiao then pressed a button on a remote and destroyed the thorns. Electrical explosions occur around the thorns, making it unable to function anymore. They were shocked and called Han Xiao crazy because he destroyed the thorns just to stop them. Han Xiao then cocked his gun and stood confidently above the destroyed thorns. He intends to complete this mission. Luo Qing, who witnessed that, was furious and started running towards Han Xiao. As a reaction, Han Xiao fired his gun at Luo Qing, but Luo Qing activated force field and stopped Han Xiao's bullet. Witnessing that made Han Xiao very surprised, because Luo Qing's force field could block the bullets so easily. Han Xiao also concluded that ordinary bullets would not work. Han Xiao then jumped up and fired a bullet. Luo Qing once again stopped the bullet with her force field, but she was shocked to find that the bullet contained poison gas. Finding that Luo Qing's Esper ability still couldn't control the air, Han Xiao thought that he could make her die slowly. He continuously fired his gun at Luo Qing. Luo Qing, who felt pressured, decided that he had to close the distance with Han Xiao. He then jumped to get closer and made Han Xiao miss. Luo Qing then used his force field to attack. At the last second, Han Xiao brushed it off using his sword. As a result of the attack, Han Xiao was even pushed quite far. Using this opportunity, Luo Qing ran up to Han Xiao and attacked him. To dodge Luo Qing's attack, Han Xiao used his gloves to push his body backwards. Han Xiao felt cornered because he was forced to face Luo Qing at close range. Han Xiao channeled electricity into his gloves and tried to punch Luo Qing, but Luo Qing was able to block it using her force field. Luo Qing smiled and said that Han Xiao was too weak in close combat. He then used his force field and attacked Han Xiao. Luo Qing was sure that it was over now because no one could survive the true damage from his force field. However, Han Xiao looked fine and asked Luo Qing what she said earlier. Luo Qing was very surprised to see him. Han Xiao then took out his sword and used overload. With his sword, Han Xiao dashed towards Luo Qing. Luo Qing also realized that he was in danger. He tried to protect himself using his force field, but Han Xiao's sword was able to penetrate Luo Qing's force field, and Han Xiao slashed at Luo Qing. The sky looked overcast. Seen in a fighting arena, there had been a fight between two men. One of the men knelt on one knee, and he thrust his sword into the ground and lowered his head. He was standing right in front of him. The man wonders where the man came from. He has no equal. He is here to prove to everyone that he is the best in the world. The man raised his head, his face dripping with sweat. He looked at him. The man was surprised that he met such a powerful warrior. The man decided that it was definitely not without reason that he had decided to participate in this fight. His goal in joining this battle is to prove himself to be the strongest in the world, but his joy didn't last long. He decided to attack. He wanted to attack with a sword and shouted that a hot battle was about to begin. The man just laughed at his opponent's words. He hit him with a sword in response, and the enemy was defeated. He did not understand what kind of pathetic gamble it was. The man spat out blood from his mouth and looked at his enemy. He saw that he had an extremely fast reaction. He fell down, realizing that the difference in their blows was only a millimeter. He stood behind and looked at the stands. The crowd laughed and cheered for the instant hit. The hosts were happy to tell him he didn't take a single hit, and it was another clean win. The attack just now happened in the blink of an eye. In an unknown year, with the advent of the virtual reality crossover system, the world underwent major changes. Interverse, which has a variety of different content in the world concept. The system was created and caused global changes. The world of virtual reality has a variety of content and concepts from around the world. He is able to open the user to the world of the past, the future, the world of fantasy, as well as the responsibilities of work, education, art, economics, and other types of human activity. As a result, this virtual reality has replaced many things from the real world. Among the many virtual reality worlds is the world of one MMORPG called Heroes of Time called HOT. In this game, there are heroes who appear in the most difficult moments. Usually they are called players, so that people get the opportunity to visit a huge fantasy world with the help of various contents, in the form of raid bosses and various arena modes, siege battles, and other things. And this game is very popular among mankind from all over the world. Interverse is the center of everything for those who love Heroes of Time's games. They dream of being the best as pro gamers. On the day when the students are still at school, the students sat and discussed watching humans from the planet. A man told Lee Hyun-jung that he watched Planetary's broadcast yesterday. Another man came up to the guys sitting at their table and jokingly said that he should win in the final. One of the people who approached Lee Hyun-jung and said that he had just signed up for the Human of the Planet and asked Lee Hyun-jung to give him an autograph. Incredible skill like that wasn't enough for him to log in. Lee Hyun-jung in Game of Time Heroes is a black skull. He reached the final of the competition hosted by the planet's most famous human streamer. Among the viewers, Lee Hyun-jung is the most interesting, not only in the game but also in reality. He has a sharp mind and good athletic body above all. The man was born from a rich family, so he had everything. He was also lucky with his tall appearance. Lee Hyun-jung thought he was absolutely perfect, not only in games but also in cyberspace. Not so much. Lee Hyun-jung turned to one of the men and said that the sync speed measured by professional programs was 200%. He asked the man if maybe they were watching other people's different worlds. He asked for clarification. If 200% sync is almost programmer level. Synchronization rate is an index that shows the frequency of synchronization with avatars used in the virtual reality crossover. It is known that 100 sync speeds are responsible for 100 senses of reality. Also, high indicators indicate that the player may experience psychic phenomena. One person said that Lee Hyun-jung was quite fast in the arena. Dan asked if Lee Hyun-jung saw everything in slow motion. Lee Hyun-jung explained that this is not entirely true. He just has feelings that are manifested a little deeper than real life. The man said that people who are really lucky are always lucky, and that the world is very unfair. The man says that there are players who can do nothing, no matter how hard they try. He asked someone whose back he was sitting on. The young man was seen kneeling, and the man pressed his head and said that he had to understand what would happen if he fell. He replied that he understood everything perfectly. The man standing next to him said that. He shouldn't be doing this in class, otherwise problems might arise, but the guy sitting in knows. He said that his mother was on the parent committee, so there should be no problem. He said that if someone asked, they could say they were just playing, and even the teachers wouldn't say anything against it. Suddenly, Lee Hyun-jung pushed Park Noah under the table, and he fell. The man sitting on his back also fell over and became very angry. He started calling him a bastard and screaming that he almost broke his neck because of him. She asks if he wanted to kill her by accident, and she will regret it now. Lee Hyun-jung added that the youth who fell on the floor was just a pitiful person, a loser in life. Sweat dripped down his face. He gritted his teeth in anger and clenched his fists. His glasses fell from his face to the floor. Lee Hyun-jung believes that this is how this cruel world works. Everything here revolves according to the rules of natural selection. The special rule of the strong is to look down on the weak. Unfortunately, the weak couldn't refuse. That was why he was weak even with the development of technology and many new entertainments. The most interesting thing was still looking down on the desperate face of a loser. Lee Hyun-jung's last battle and his final opponent was a shooter who could change classes, depending on who he was fighting. Lee Hyun-jung was sure that for the finals they would choose some destroyers who would overcome them and kill. Users who have multiple classes outperform those with only one class. In terms of physical data and speed of analyzing the situation, Lee Hyun-jung is connected to the game. And press from now on, we've seen the real face of a loser. The audience cheered. They were all looking forward to the final fight. The presenter reports on the most popular competition among all viewers. humans of a planet where they choose the best and strongest in one-on-one duels. And now the final begins. The host says that the competition rules are exactly the same as in the arena of the game Heroes of Time. The participants have the same item level indicators and general stats. The only difference explained by the presenter is in the class of participants and skills related to strategy. Struggles and physical data is the best entertainment. The host asks the audience to greet the players. The first player is a specialist in assassination who did not take a single hit in the final battle, Black Skull. Black Skull, who is famous for using assassin abilities to attack quickly and dodge to defeat his opponents. But in reality, in real life, he is just an ordinary high school student. The presenter said that now the Black Skull already has such quality. Then in the future, he can definitely become an excellent gamer. Players with ARC nicknames are announced as the next finalists. He is the owner of a distinct class which he uses to gain a strategic advantage. The host curiously asks which class the player will choose for the final battle. With Black Skull, the player chooses a mage class, which greatly surprises the presenter for the battle with Black Skull. Ark chose a mage class that was weaker than an assassin. The host asks Stark if this is the next strategy. The magician replied that this was not a strategy at all. It seemed to him that an assassin of such a level could easily be defeated by a magician. The host said that it was a very unexpected provocation and asked if Ark wanted to taunt Black Skull in this way. Then the host announces that it's time to start the final competition. The magician turned to the opponent and said that he had heard that Black Skull was a famous genius gamer from high school, and he added that he was also a high school student. But then with a sneer, he asked why this skull mask did the Black Skull have a transitional age. The black skeleton was angry. He decided that he was the opposite of trying to attract attention in this way, so he mocked his appearance. The battle begins. The magician hits the first opponent. Ark used magic and ran. The black skeleton chased after him. An ordinary wizard versus an assassin. What is the goal of the end of this battle? He didn't understand what his enemy was doing, whether he really hoped to win by shooting magic from afar. Maybe the witch just decided to make fun of the Black Skull's appearance. The Black Skull was clearly angry. He used mage skills and confidently moved forward. The magician realized that his opponent wasn't that weak since he was able to dodge all of his attacks from such a distance. He wasn't sure if he should get closer. Black Skull confusedly. He didn't understand why the enemy was trying to approach him now. Maybe he really wanted to taunt him. Then the Black Skull decided to attack from behind. He wanted his opponent to regret this battle, but the mage was far more stupid. He decided to set a trap for the Black Skull, although he wasn't entirely sure that the enemy would fall into it. It was so easy for the magician to say that in this game, he could never be led by emotion, and suddenly turned to the Black Skull. The magician specially approaches the blitz to trap his enemy. The host escalated the situation. He described the course of the entire battle and reported that the Black Skull had fallen into the magician's trap. The Black Skull fell to its knees. The magician came and said that he used the skills of all shooting classes and asked if Black Skull thought that he didn't know the skills of an assassin. The magician said that Black Skull knocked out his very pathetic clean winning record. And then he added that now he still doesn't have to worry about that, because he had a bigger problem because it was very embarrassing for an assassin to lose to a dark magician. The skull was very angry. He said that the magician was only lucky once, and he had started to act arrogantly. He asks if the magician hopes to beat him with just one punch. In an instant, he stood up and disappeared straight from the arena. The host said it was an amazing skill of an assassin. His highest skill is dark attack. Black Skull was angry and wanted to defeat his enemy at any cost. But the witch was not afraid. He knew very well about the assassin's invisibility skill, though he considered it some kind of fraud since the enemy was invisible and unheard of. But he also has a thing for Black Skulls. He decided to show the enemy his skill. With the supreme power of the energy burst, the host said that the magician had again used the unexpected trick he had decided to perform in response to his enemy with a long attack. Both sides used skills capable of inflicting fatal wounds all at once. The only thing that matters here is whose attack will be the first. The host said that the magician was in a disadvantageous position for him. Will he be able to react to the assassin's attack seen during the attack? Black goals will not tolerate insults in his direction from anyone. He decided to destroy his enemy and bring the synchronization speed to the limit and make the enemy feel that time is slowing down. His synchronization skills grew to 130 times, then to 180. Interverse synchronization levels are created simultaneously with the appearance of the intercept. It is an unknown system, which is little known, but all players who reach high sync speed say the same thing. As soon as the sync reaches the limit, time seems to stop. The magician stands and waits for the attack, and at the same time also increases the synchronization speed, and even exceeds the indicator. Black Skull decides to attack the enemy, but the magician reacts in time and manages to avoid the blow. Magicians say that this game is quite amazing. Sometimes there are moments when it seems that time has stopped. Now he felt that he could do anything. He said that the life of a loser is a pretty sad thing. Black was confused. He did not understand what was happening. He lost. Lee Hyun-jung sat there and was angry. He couldn't believe his defeat. He threw away his helmet and started screaming that some freak could beat him. Indeed, the world rotates. According to the rules of natural selection, the special right of the strong is to look down on the weak, and the weak cannot fight back, because they are weak. But this is only about reality, and after all, no one has ever said that a loser in real life is a loser in cyberspace. This is exactly the arc Logan. He is a loser in real life who is bullied by classmates, but in cyberspace he is a complete genius. He left the game and thought about how he wanted so badly to see what kind of face the Lee Hyun-jung he had just won. He will walk with her tomorrow. This is a story about a man who in real life is considered a loser. A professor is seen sitting in his office trying to find a suitable person on the list. The assistant brought him a cup of coffee and asked the professor what he thought about it. The professor took the coffee and politely thanked Assistant Kim. Assistant Kim asks the professor why he still can't choose who to recommend in the academy. The assistant said he respected the professor because he believed that everyone should have an equal opportunity. He understood very well that the professor was trying to find those who were limited by circumstances and unable to make their own way. Kim asked if he could recommend one candidate to the professor. He tells the professor that he was watching the stream yesterday and found one specimen that was odd. It was a high school student. The assistant asked if the student was suitable for the position the professor required, and handed him a tablet with information. The assistant went on to say that he encountered one very strange moment on stream. He secretly tried to measure the sync speed, and he came out with some unprecedented indicators. The professor is very surprised that the synchronization of packets is not more than 200. The professor suggests that some kind of law program may appear on the intersection. The assistant said that no one knows for sure whether there is such a program or not. The professor asked Assistant Kim if he had any meetings scheduled today. The assistant asks if the professor wants to contact this player. The professor replied that it was necessary to check everything thoroughly to see if there was such an indicator of synchronization. Meanwhile, Park Noah is still suffering from beatings at school. Lee Hyun-jung was furious after his defeat yesterday and decided to take his anger out on Park Noah. He kicks Noah. While other people stood by and saw, Lee Hyun-jung was furious that some pathetic orphans decided to contradict him. The guys were standing behind, and one of them asked the others what happened to Lee Hyun-jung because he never dirty his hands. Before another man answered that Lee Hyun-jung lost his last fight yesterday. The man added that Lee Hyun-jung's goal was to become famous as an amateur and enter the academy, but now his untouchable and undefeated status is completely broken. Moreover, the man said that Lee Hyun-jung's opponent in the final said that he also studied in high school, so now Lee Hyun-jung is also deprived of the title of brilliant school player. Others said that in this respect, Lee Hyun-jung was quite understandable. Lee Hyun-jung looked at Park Noah and paused for a moment. Here remembered that yesterday in the finals, the player had told him that the life of a loser was quite horrible. But those are his words. Lee Hyun-jung remembered exactly saying the same thing. Was Park Noah, this Lee Hyun-jung, started getting angrier, but suddenly Park Noah started apologizing to him. She said she didn't understand what she had done. Was she wrong, but she's still very sorry for him. Lee Hyun-jung was shocked and decided that those words were just a coincidence, and there was no way he could lose to this loser Park Noah. He finally stops hitting Noah and goes about his business, then calls his friends. After they followed Lee Hyun-jung, Park Noah was left lying on the floor because he was bruised. At first he held his head with his hands, and then he let go of his hands and started smiling smugly at his victory. He was well aware that Lee Hyun-jung was very angry because of yesterday's defeat and was very happy because of that. Park Noah clenched his fists and said that Lee Hyun-jung deserved it. He himself, after entering high school, Lee Hyun-jung and his gang did nothing but bully Park Noah, even though a virtual reality was created in the world. So many different entertainments have been created, but those who like to mock others for some reason. Park Noah didn't have a specific reason why he chose Lee Hyun-jung as his target. He just wished he could fight him in the game, and that's how it all started. Park Noah is just tired of losing to everyone all the time, but he never harbored hope that his everyday life would change one bit. He was well aware that in this reality, he could never keep up with Lee Hyun-jung. His behavior is just an attempt to relieve stress, hence his disgusting school life continues again. The teacher came to the school office. He said today is the 10th, so number 10 is Park Noah. Park Noah stood up and looked at the teacher. All students turned and saw Park Noah. He was covered in blisters, and his clothes were badly wrinkled. The teacher looks at the men in surprise and then awkwardly asks if Park Noah can tell everyone what is the difference between R and VR. Park Noah was disappointed by this teacher's behavior because he pretended that nothing had happened again. Is this all a teacher can do by looking at him? Appearance. Park Noah thinks that his teacher has grown up. Why can't he protect him? Why doesn't she ask what happened to him and why he looks like that? But deep down, Park Noah knew very well that it was all because Lee Hyun-jung's parents were rich. Park Noah has always known that reality is too evil. When Park Noah enters the game again, he kills monsters. They attack him in droves, but he gets over it because of that. Park Noah decides that he doesn't need to worry about some kind of reality, because primarily the stage is the opposite virtual reality here. Him killing monsters gets a lot of points, and because of this, everyone gets stronger only in the virtual world. Can Park Noah know he thinks nothing and is always himself? Park Noah fought monsters and said that melee weapons were great anyway. In the game Heroes of Time, there are 3 main categories: gunner, tank, and assistant classes among all. He can choose a class that belongs to any of the categories and play the level of the class that needs to be raised. It is impossible to change the category, so the choice must be taken very seriously. Park Noah chose the shooter class because he thinks shooters are very important in the game. Park Noah is looking through his money in the game. He saw that he had accumulated enough, and if he could exchange them, then he wouldn't have to worry about money for the next month. One of the reasons why opposite virtual realities are called worlds apart is because the currency used in the world is different from reality. This is the same as a divisible gold coin. But the cool thing is that this gold can be exchanged for cash. But unfortunately only adults can do this, and Park Noah is still a high school student. Therefore Park Noah has decided that for now he will only save money and then be able to spend his money. From behind, someone tried to attack the Ark with a spear, but he managed to react in time and dodged the blow. He saw the assailant and asked who he was. In general, the man asked why Park Noah immediately dodged. He could have hit him. Then the guy asked if Park Noah would work normally. There was a gang with the guy, and Park Noah asked who they all were and why they would attack him so soon. The man replies that they have a Park Noah coin case. He asks if Park Noah can let them PK fairly and die peacefully. The man asks his gang member who is responsible for the final punch and says to do everything right, otherwise if he does anything wrong, he will regret it a lot. The man in charge of the last attack said he would do everything as the commander gave the orders. Park Noah looked at the gang in surprise and thought that the man standing in front of him was the commander of several zombies. Zombies are called gamers, who have been hired by private companies. Park Noah heard that they were required to bring a certain amount of gold or items to the company every day, where the company then paid them money. There were even rumors that in life these players were some kind of debtors or criminals serving prison terms. Among these people there is a so-called killer with bloodshot eyes. One of them just looked at Park Noah and said he would kill him. But Park Noah said they decided to attack the wrong person. He asks if they really think that he will lose to them and points his sword at them. Someone from the gang said that Park Noah was apparently very confident in his abilities. Dan asked if Park Noah would be able to fight them. It must be the gang commander saying that all but one person here are the most average players, and if Park Noah kills the regular players, he will be a killer himself. And in case of death in a duel, he will be given a hefty fine. He asked if Park Noah knew this, and asked if it wouldn't be better if Park Noah just died without fighting. Now Park Noah understands why they only make one kill, so they think to beat him. But if one of them must be suffering, then what should Park Noah do? He decided that he would only win. Park Noah runs and the gang yells at him that there's no point in him running away. They chase him, and someone wants to punch Park Noah, but he is able to block the punch. Park Noah pushed his foe away, but at that moment another man plunged a knife into his shoulder from behind. Park Noah hit his face in pain and clenched his teeth. The man said that Park Noah should stop fighting and just give up. He had delayed them at work. Park Noah stood with his head down and held his injured shoulder. He didn't understand why this always happened to him. Why is he so unlucky? The commander orders the gang to deal with the victims as soon as possible. All zombies go into the crowd with enough garden noise. Still don't understand why everyone wants to mock him. Although perhaps all these people did not even suspect that they were mocking him. Park Noah. Remember Lee Hyun-jung at that time one day they just met eyes at some point, and Lee Hyun-jung asked why Park Noah was looking at him, and that was the only reason for bullying. But Park Noah knew that if he killed ordinary players, he would become a criminal and could lose even more. Wouldn't it be better than just getting fined and losing just 10% of what he had? But Park Noah decides that he must not back down, at least here in virtual reality. He decides to fight his enemy because his opponent is just a bunch of pathetic zombies. Park Noah decides that he will just kill them all and try to survive until the killer status time runs out. Park Noah attacks the enemy and says that he will make them regret this battle. In this world, Park Noah is not a weakling here. He is really a genius. He scatters the zombies one by one and finally gets to the gang commander being hit with a sword, but the enemy managed to hold him off. The commander asks why Park Noah is surprised if he really thinks he is on the same level as other zombies. Then the commander says that Park Noah has now become a murderer and asks what he will do now. A black crow flew across the sky. He landed on the hand of his master, who was standing on top of the mountain peak, and looked around. The master is the same professor who was looking for Mr. Noah. The crow shows the owner of the picture what he saw in flight, and Park Noah was there. The owner of the crow said that he finally found the player he was looking for. Meanwhile, Park Noah is still fighting the zombie gang commander. Park Noah doesn't understand what kind of man he is. Where did such powerful strength come from? The commander says that Park Noah is pretty good in battle too. He noted that with a single spear and without any pack of armor, he was able to dodge all attacks, and sent everyone to respond with one punch. Then he got angry and shouted that because of the arc, he just had more work for today. He goes to attack Park Noah and asks if Noah has stocked up with items. Park Noah stood up and watched the enemy quickly approach him. He clearly saw the enemy attack. He has an unusual technique. The enemy finally approached and followed with an attack. Park Noah blocked it, but something went wrong. Park Noah doesn't understand why this is happening. Enemy looks at him and asks, "What is the matter, and where has Bowspeed gone?" Park Noah didn't know why the commander's attack was stronger than his reaction. He perfectly saw all the attacks, but didn't have time to react to them. This is called the measurement of the character's strength, which is controlled not only by the physical shell. Unlike the arena, where skill is important. In the PK field, whose level does not change, there are different elemental variables such as item skill level and so on. This means that it is possible to defeat the enemies here. It even has basic indicators. Commander says that Park Noah has pretty good skills, but judging by his level, he is still a schoolboy. He tells Park Noah that he should go and do his homework better and call him baby. He wanted to hit Noah with a sword, but someone else stopped his punch. It was a man with a raven. The commander asked the man who he was. The man apologized for coming in and said that he also had something to do with Park Noah. A man turned around and looked, and then said that he wanted to ask directly whether Park Noah had used some illegal programs in the game. At the last match petition, he participated in it. Park Noah was shocked and asked again what illegal program meant. He said with a bit of annoyance that he had never used such a program. Zombie Commander got angry and said that the professor dared not enter into their showdown. Then the process of hitting him, and the commander flew back. There was a shock on his face. The professor leaned his sword back down the commander's throat and asked Dark whether he really achieved 400% sync without the help of a special program. Park Noah was surprised by this question because he didn't even know anything about sync at 400%. He asked the professor if he really had 400% sync. The professor wonders if Park Noah is faking it because during the last hit, his sync indicators gave a slightly over 400% mark. He also added that this indicator is almost a record. He was surprised that Park Noah said he didn't use a program to inflate the numbers. Park Noah stood there and didn't know what to say. To measure sync cost money, so he never tested it. The professor saw that Park Noah didn't, and thought whether this person really didn't know his own sync percentage. Suddenly, a world-controlled time game hero appears. He said that he came on a call and asked if there was someone here who was suspected of using an illegal program. Park Noah stood in amazement and didn't understand why the game manager was here. The manager names the player suspected of using an illegal program and says he will start an assessment. The assistant asked Park Noah to do a dubious act. Once again, Park Noah became very angry because of the suspicion and shouted at the manager that he knew nothing about the illegal program and advised him to better punish the killers of other players. The assistant said that in the game, Heroes of Time killing players is one of the rules in where a fine can be issued, and this is not a violation. The assistant also added that Park Noah should consider the fact that when using illegal programs, his in-game account may be permanently banned. Park Noah started to get angrier about how his account got permanently banned. If he has never used illegal programs, the professor said that Park Noah must prove that he is right and not use any illegal programs. Park Noah took out his sword and looked at the professor. The zombie commander, who was still standing behind, said that now he understood why Park Noah had lasted so long. He added that he was referring to Park Noah, who apparently used the banned program. The zombie commander asks the professor if he will still meddle with him. The professor replied that he would not bother him. Then the commander said that he would deal with these illegal immigrants himself. But in return, all the items will be his. He goes on the attack. Park Noah parried the first punch and said he had never measured sync percentage in his life. He just thought that this indicator was much higher for him than the other players in the school. Park Noah heard that Lee Hunjung's synchronization indicator was 200%, but the indicator was twice as high as 400%. So far, there has been no player with such data, and Park Noah is the first to have such data sync. Park Noah smiled because he was the only one in the world who had such an indicator. What the commander saw. He is in shock and asks why she is smiling like that. At that moment, Park Noah realized that he was hypersensitivity special synchronization, his reaction concentration. After he saw that the enemy's attacks were too slow, Park Noah decided that then he should try to force out all the thrills to the maximum. If only he could predict how his opponent would move. Park Noah noticed that the opponent was aiming for his left shoulder and dodged the punch. The packet synchronization indicator had reached a huge number, and even the assistant was surprised by such an indicator. Park Noah noticed a vertical right kick and dodged it. He stabbed his opponent. The commander did not understand what was happening. It looks like Park Noah is guessing all of his next shots and seems to be preparing for them in advance. Is it possible that he saw Park Noah in the future attack the enemy again? But this time the enemy was able to mount a defense, while the assistant said that the use of illegal programs is not confirmed. He was horrified that Park Noah had reached the maximum sync rate. The professor doesn't believe Park Noah has passed 400%, and even being able to over 500%, the professor wondered if a special player had appeared. While Park Noah defeats his enemy, the zombie gang commander lies on the ground. Park Noah turned to the professor and walked towards him. He asked the professor if he could prove to him that he wasn't using an illegal program. The professor apologized for suspecting Park Noah. Then he said that he came to meet Park Noah to make him a tempting offer, but Park Noah immediately said that it was not worth it. He added that, thanks to the professor, he realized that he was a special being. In this universe world, he has the feeling that he can really beat any opponent, and Park Noah says that killing players is not an offense, and says the professor's weapon looks quite expensive, and then asked if the professor would mind if he took it himself. The professor says that Noah still needs to deal with assassin status and offers to talk later. Then the professor hit Park Noah. Park Noah wonders why he didn't foresee this, as he has a high sync rate. Park Noah understood that he could not die because he had many necessary items in his inventory. The professor says that if Park Noah wants to return his lost items due to a fine, then he should try to find them. Park Noah is lying on the ground, and the professor says he will wait for his call and leaves. Simultaneously with the opening of the virtual reality universe, various technological researches experience significant developments. One of them is robot engineering. Modern science has made such strong leaps in development that robotics has advanced significantly. Gradually, artificial intelligence is obtained. It progresses until AI technology approaches human understanding and its robotic body becomes more suitable. Its development that can mimic human behavior is getting better and better every day, and its mechanical body becomes a much more functional robot, capable of replacing the jobs of many people. As a result, the robot became so popular that it began to be used, even in an ordinary family. There is one robot named T1. This robot has been the guardian of one boy and his family, at the same time for 10 years, and boy is Park Noah. The robot that was standing in front of the crying Park Noah, he couldn't hide his surprise. Park Noah comes home beaten up every time, but he never showed any leniency. Park Noah asked the robot what to do. The robot has no idea what exactly is tormenting the boy, maybe violence or intimidation. What the robot felt as if something was boiling inside the boy's robe about experiencing a strange feeling for the first time. So he tried to analyze the boy and then quickly found the answer. This feeling that boys experience is called anger. He needed to find someone who could appease this anger. The robot wonders who caused this emotion in the boy. Park Noah looked at his robot, and with tears in his eyes said that he had lost all the items in the game. The robot says that in this case, it is worth beating Park Noah. First he says no, that not only did he spend all the money in virtual reality, but he also lost the gold coins he collected for exchange and wanted to spend when he grew up. The robot is very angry. He said that someone was saving electricity and could not even dream of a full charge, and Park Noah wasted all the money. Unless the robot says no, that he shouldn't enter this virtual reality. Park Noah sadly replied that it was his investment in the future. The robot lowered its mechanical head and said there was no need to waste time on this game addict. Then the robot says that Park Noah should just do as he is told, and then he will be able to return the items, and his goal is he just needs to find someone with the logs and hide in the bush, and then he will be able to return everything. Park Noah sat down and clutched his head, saying that it was all money too. If they were exchanged, he wasn't sure if the professor would give back everything he took. The robot replies that if the professor doesn't return everything to him, then Noah will have to pick up his pants and think about it, and says he never begged anyone before. He asked the robot what he should do now. The robot stood up and looked at the floor. He asked how Park Noah could live to such an age and never ask anyone for anything. In this case, the robot decides that it should tell Park about the request technique contained in its database. But before that, he warned Noah that this was a very high level of complexity. Noah looked at his guardian with determination and waited. He was told about the high-level request technique. Park Noah finally contacted the professor, and they were able to meet. Park Noah is standing on his head, and the professor is standing behind him. The professor realized that it was a big bow. Park Noah said that he had heard that this was the best way to ask for anything. The professor said that Park Noah could wake up and that he would return his things to him no matter what. Park Noah jumped up and sat on his knees in front of the professor. Professor said that he would return all, but of course, not unconditional. He asked Park Noah to answer some of his questions and show him. Some of the points written in the terms of the agreement are that the first party promises to give all the lost items and gold coins to the second party. Party B promises to answer all questions of Party A. The third party promises to only tell the pure truth. And fourth, that Party B cannot escape until the party has finished asking the questions written below. That in case of breach of contract, the party who breached the terms of the contract loses all available items and gold coins. Park Noah looked at the contract in surprise with great attention and read every word. He was well aware that if he didn't answer honestly, he could lose all of his items and gold coins. Actually, in this world, there is a kind of secure transaction between two parties, which with the help of the system is concluded in the form of a contract, and this is a very useful thing. Park Noah read the contract and found absolutely nothing in its contents that would be detrimental to himself. He also said that he also had many questions for the professor. Park Noah asked if he could ask the professor questions according to the same rules. The professor agreed that Park Noah could probably also have a lot of questions for him, so he wouldn't mind answering them. An additional condition is added to the contract. The first additional condition is that he undertakes to answer all questions of Party B, and the second condition is that the party promises to tell the pure truth. The professor immediately returned all of his items and gold coins to Park Noah. Park Noah is very happy to get all his lost things back. The professor advises against asking questions in turn, and Park Noah agrees. Professor asked his question first. He asked Park to know if he must be in high school. Park Noah thought that even if he answered this question vaguely, the professor still couldn't guess whether he was lying or not. Park Noah looks at the professor with a smirk and says that this isn't right. Then all that has been lost, he doesn't understand how it happened. The professor held his head and said that the interval of the virtual reality world that uses the waves emitted by the brain, he can easily recognize where it is and where the truth is. Park Noah said it was true when he was a high school student, and then looked at the professor and asked whether he can collect his things. The professor said it was Noah's turn to ask him questions. Park Noah was sitting and collecting all his things scattered on the ground, and asked why the professor was clinging to him. The professor replies that he wants to get to know Park Noah better, and he wants to invite Noah to his game in the team. He said Park Noah could think of it as a small interview. Park Noah turned around and looked at the professor in surprise, and then asked the team what kind of game. He asked what kind of game team the professor was talking about, but the professor doesn't answer. He says it's Park Noah's turn has ended, and now he will ask a question. He looked at Noah carefully and asked what the man wanted to do in the future. Park Noah thought that this man was just asking stupid questions, and replied that he wanted to earn a lot of money. Park Noah Money put his raincoat on himself and asked the team professor what kind of thing he told before. The professor replies that he is talking about a team that will play in the Fairyland Academy League. Park Noah was very surprised by the words about the Fairyland Academy League. Does Professor really this mean same academy? The professor announces that it's time to ask the next question and directly asks if Park Noah likes to play games. Park Noah replied, of course he likes to play games. Right now he was thinking that everyone who wanted to become a pro player dreamed of entering the Sanjin Academy. This could only mean one thing: this man was somehow connected with the Fairyland Academy League, as all his subjects were in place, which meant he wasn't lying. Park Noah thought that he never even dared to dream of entering Fairyland Academy. Would he really be able to enroll there? The professor asked if it was a question apparently without knowing it. Park Noah asked the last one. Loudly, the professor decides to answer this question and says that Park Noah will be able to enter the Fairyland Academy because he thinks he is quite suitable for this. Then the professor announced the next question again. He asked about the fight with an opponent far superior to Park Noah in every way. He asks if she has fighting spirit. Thanks to that, he was prepared to fight even someone who might lose him. Park Noah answered with a happy smile. That's so, but for some reason at this moment Park Noah remembered Lee Hyun-jung's words, which he didn't understand. Why is it happening now? Park Noah knows for a fact that the answer to this question is yes, but somehow Park Noah thinks if he answers yes, it could be considered a lie. And so he suddenly exhaled to himself and said no. Park Noah said that he didn't want to participate in the battle if he wasn't completely sure of victory. He said that only he would be worse than the misery floundering at his feet, and he doesn't want to be in a position and a situation where he will depend. Park Noah went on to say that maybe such a contest doesn't mean the end of the world. Duels can continue until the player surrenders. The professor didn't listen to what Park Noah said, and said that every year there is a competition for all the students in the Fairyland Academy. Park Noah opened his eyes wide and listened attentively to the professor. Professor tells about many teams led by Professor. It was he who set the goal of winning in order to become the representative of the Fairyland Academy. It is said that many students are eager to hone their skills, but most of them lose their compromises and forget their dreams. So sad is that. The professor says that only a few have survived. The professor takes the sword and says that they can keep their dream only by trampling others, and then among the survivors, only one MVP will appear in the team. The professor observed Park Noah closely and asked if Park Noah was sure he could survive in such a place. Park Noah admits to himself that he doesn't really like losing either, which is why he chose a game where he was completely confident in himself and his ability to attack Lee Hyun-jung. After all that time, he knew very well that he could beat Lee Hyun-jung. But in real life, there are too many differences between them, and there is only one reason Park Noah can't stand against Lee Hyun-jung and his gang. If he did not stand on the battlefield from the start, then he could only justify himself, that he is not a loser. But Park Noah was very afraid that here he would meet an enemy he could not beat. Then how should he be in such a situation? But everything was clear to him, and the answer was known from the start. It's just that the moment the choice should have been made came a little earlier. Park Noah intercepts the sword that the professor is pointing at him and says that the man has made a mistake, and now it is Park Noah's turn to ask questions. He asks the professor if they needed a trump card in the team. The professor replies that they need such a card, but Park Noah clearly lacks a lot to be a trump shooter. The professor says that Park Noah still doesn't know why he cut it with such a high sync rate. He added that Noah still lacks knowledge, so he can only recommend it, but he will. He had to pass the entrance test himself. The professor announced the next question. He put his hand on Park Noah's shoulder and said that his goal was the entrance exam that would take place in 3 months, and asked if Park Noah was ready for the brutal training. Park Noah looked at the professor and only thought that he would really be able to enter the Fairyland Academy. On the next day, the first training session started, which was led by the professor, or rather Park Noah, thought that they would start, since the professor told him where Park Noah should come. But instead of the professor who came instead, a girl who came to a place that had been promised before. The girl asks Park Noah if he is the same applicant the professor talked about earlier, while Park Noah asked if there were other suitors besides himself. The girl looks at him and warms up, saying that apparently she doesn't know anything about it. But he said that all of this was not so important, and there were more important things he wanted to attack Park Noah. But he managed to react in time and dodge the punch, and then asked what he was doing. Then the girl hit him, and he flew. And then he said that she had heard him say that he has a high level of synchronization, and suggested that he fight once. The Fairyland Academy that everyone wants to enter is an internationally renowned school that has produced elite graduates to work in virtual reality-related fields, the most popular of which is a sport whose main objective is to educate professional gamers. Park Noah asked the girl why she asked her to fight. Park Noah doesn't know what's wrong with him. The pink-haired girl. She looked at her and also didn't understand what was going on. He thought that he might lower his pain threshold because it didn't hurt at all. The girl asked what Park Noah's pain index was. Park Noah looked at this strange girl in horror and screamed that she would do it and not say this to the person who just attacked her. The girl was outraged by this answer, and she asked again what the pain indicator was. Park Noah thought that this girl was too annoying, and then suggested that she should have some sort of relationship with the academy. Dan said that his pain level was 1%. The girl looked at him in surprise and asked how a coward like him could have such high level of synchronization. He added that other people tried to increase the synchronization in any way so that the pain indicator increased to 20%. Park Noah was surprised because he didn't know that the synchronization indicator was up if the pain index is raised. But the girl was annoyed and said he was very annoying. Then he added that his maximum pain threshold was 20, which meant that Park Noah would also be able to feel pain if he hit him another 20 times. He waved his hand and wanted to punch him, but Park Noah was able to react. He dodged and asked her if the girl thought that he would just stand still and endure all the blows. What he fought, and everyone manages to do it. Park Noah had an unforgettable experience and thought that it was necessary to maintain such a feeling. When the girl turned around, a punch flew towards her. While they are fighting, the professor is sitting in his office and discussing Park Noah with his assistant. The assistant reads the information on the tablet. He read that Park Noah is 16 years old. He lives in the city and is currently in high school. The assistant is surprised that Park Noah doesn't even have a VR device at home, and then he asks the professor if that's the reason he bought a 3-month subscription to a nearby VR club. The professor replies that it was an assistant asking how Park Noah would look to the professor after their private meeting. The professor straightened up and said that his sync rate was really unusual, but he really had a lot of things he had to learn, he said. The assistant agreed, adding that it would be very difficult for Park Noah to sync alone, because now he has to be able to do a lot of things, the professor said. That's why he asked Carrie to fight Park Noah, and his assistant looked at the professor, who was standing in fear, and asked if it was too much. To which the professor replied that they would soon see for themselves. Then the professor turned to his assistant and said that he could never say something for sure. He must always remember that there will always be monsters that surpass us all. Then the professor entered the game. He saw how Carrie locked Park Noah's body with her attacks. The girl also held Park Noah's hand. He didn't move or break away from Carrie. The professor looks at this picture and wonders if he is expecting too much from Park Noah. This time, Park Noah asks Carrie to let go of her hand. Park Noah tells the professor not to just stand aside and do something with this girl he calls City Brow. The girl was outraged by the words about square eyebrows. They start to find out which one of them is the town brow, and the professor stood up and held his head in his hands. Then he said he should introduce them to each other. He pointed at Park Noah and introduced him as a bow shooter. The professor also added that he recommended him as an academy participant, and now Park Noah will train with him. Then the professor introduces Park Noah to Carrie and says that he is also a shooter. The professor also adds that Carrie was selected to enter the academy 6 months ago. The professor says that if they both register, they will become members of the same team, which means they should definitely be friends. Park Noah looks at Carrie angrily and asks if she is also on recommendation, to which Carrie replies that she doesn't understand anything properly herself. And now he was angry as if someone had to see it. The professor looked at the two from the side and thought that he had a clear guess as to what their future would be like, that a very cheerful future awaits them. The girl turned around and said that she had done everything the professor asked her to do before and asked if she could go to the training now. Professor says he has one question for him. He started and asked what his impression was after the battle with the Ark. The girl was a little surprised by this question and said that this guy spoiled her mood. The professor doesn't understand what it means to spoil the mood. Park Noah was angry at this time and said that Carrie couldn't calm down. Park Noah starts saying that he is nothing and asked if there really was anyone else like this girl. The professor turned to look at him and said that there were only 2 people he recommended, Park Noah and Carrie, and then the professor asked if Park Noah could also tell him about the impressions after the battle with the same academy participant. Park Noah stood and pondered the question, and the professor told him that to be a true professional apart from synchronization, one needs to know and be able to do many other things, said Park Noah. That Carrie attacks so deftly and without unnecessary movements like a trained fighter, he is much stronger than Park Noah's previous opponents. It was said that during battle he felt something like a wall, and after using synchronization he felt as if he had used up all his strength. The professor said that Park Noah had hit the nail on the head. He tried to explain to Park Noah that it was all because he used his synchronization to the maximum, and when it reached the maximum mark, he temporarily fell into a state of exhaustion. And in this state, it is almost impossible to cause any sensations with the help of synchronization. That's why the professor was able to attack Park Noah one last time and beat him. Now Park Noah finally understood everything. The professor tells Noah that to learn how to play virtual games professionally, synchronization alone is not enough to improve skills. He needed to constantly train his fighting techniques as well as mental states through meditation. After all, modern professionals are those who are properly trained. The professor explains that he arranged for Park Noah to fight Carrie precisely so he would understand all of this. Park Noah asks if Carrie has been a suitor here for 6 months. That means she has more than 6 months to train. The professor replies that it is Park Noah saying that in this case he will catch up to Carrie's level in just the 3 months left before the entrance exams. The professor told him it couldn't be done. Park Noah looked at the professor in surprise and asked why it was impossible to do this. The professor turned around and said that he didn't expect Park Noah to reach Carrie's level before exam day. He explains that if Park Noah's main weapon is synchronization, then Carrie has a sense of fighting. He moved as if he was born with this ability. And above all, he devotes his entire day to signing up for training. Therefore, the professor suggested that Park Noah could listen to the fact that he would be able to catch up with Carrie after entering the academy. The professor then tells Park Noah they are also suggested to enter the same academy. So he suggested that if Park Noah wanted, he could arrange it with his school so that Park Noah could focus only on training. Park Noah is very happy because it means he can't go to school if he wants to. For then, Lee Hyun-jung and his disgusting gang will no longer be able to bully Park Noah. Park Noah thought for a moment and then told the professor that he still had some unfinished business at school. Dan asked if he could finish these things first and then focus on training. The professor replied that Park Noah could do what he wanted. He understood very well that Park Noah might need to say goodbye to his school friends. The next day, everyone went to school again. As usual, the teacher came and started taking the students' roll call. Teacher starts with student number 23 in the name of Min Jin-gi, and then number 24, Park Noah. But no answer. And then looking at his desk, Park Noah is not there. He asked if Park Noah didn't come to school. It was late today and everyone went home. It was dark outside and the sun was sinking below the high horizon. Lee Hyun-jung also walked home. Lee Hyun-jung walked and listened to music with headphones. He thought that Park Noah had endured for a long time and finally couldn't stand it and left the school. The thought brought a tall smile to his face. Lee Hyun-jung thought that Park Noah was a complete loser because he didn't have any parents or abilities. Lee Hyun-jung thought that if Park Noah was not constantly flashing before his eyes, he would not accept Lee Hyun-jung from him. Glad that this pack of Park Noah trash is finally gone. And his soul immediately became lighter. He thought that if Park Noah left immediately, everything would be much easier and everyone would be happy. Suddenly, Lee Hyun-jung saw Park Noah standing on the road right in front of him. He removed the headphones from her ears and asked in surprise if she was waiting for him here. Park Noah looked at him and asked if Lee Hyun-jung would be interested in finding out about the player who beat him in the final. Lee Hyun-jung was only angry when Park Noah told him that Ark was him. Then Park Noah said that this time they have to fight in real life. According to a girl, it is known that the synchronous level and the avatar are interconnected. It is believed that if it increases the percentage of pain acceptance, it can also increase the synchronous level, or the more matched the height of the avatar and the original body, the higher the synchronous level. Actually, all this time, Park Noah has lied about his appearance. Frankly, if the glasses do not have lenses, the purpose of wearing glasses is not for appearance or just being stylish. There was only a purpose for him wearing these fake glasses. Even to create a character, Park Noah uses it to shut himself up and plays the role of a quiet and cowardly student. That's how the character for his school to be perfect. That way, Park Noah plays a sad schoolboy to the bespectacled Park Noah. And he wore the mask known as the Ark to reveal himself in the virtual world. Because in that way, Park Noah managed to avoid depression because he was going through difficult times. That's how to live life. He thought that thinking was clever. When unlucky in the real world, then he has to accept it. Because there is something that can be done. As long as he did not enter his battlefield, he would not suffer defeat. Only losers step into a battle that is already a losing battle. Park Noah confessed to Lee Hyun-jung that he was the Ark who beat him in the last fight. Park Noah called Lee Hyun-jung a jerk and suggested he now fight in real life. Not wanting to get humiliated and lose, Lee Hyun-jung waved his fist and wanted to punch Park Noah in the face. But Noah manages to avoid the blow. Actually, Park Noah was a little scared, but he tried to convince himself that he had nothing to be afraid of, because he himself purposely sat here and waited for Lee Hyun-jung and was left alone. He said to himself that he had already passed a huge number of battle simulators, and it would not be difficult to imagine that all this was just another game. What Park Noah decided that he must first seduce Lee Hyun-jung to shake his soul. And what's the least favorite thing about a guy who went to high school? Park Noah looked into Lee Hyun-jung's eyes with a smile and said that he only played disgustingly. Lee Hyun-jung was really hurt by that. He looks at Park Noah angrily and asks if he is tired of living because he acts like that and talks to him like that. Park Noah was very happy because he managed to annoy Lee Hyun-jung. He remembered what the mutable battle modes that reviewed the fights were. He has said that if a person is emotional, then he is more likely to land the right punch. But Lee Hyun-jung kicked Park Noah. Park Noah flew to the side. Lee Hyun-jung said that Park Noah might be really stupid, and he went crazy because he thought that if he was alone, he could beat him. Lee Hyun-jung swung again and punched Park Noah in the face. Park Noah got angry and started beating his enemy. He hit anywhere and even hit the target a few times. Park Noah shouted at Lee Hyun-jung and continued to beat him with his fists. Lee Hyun-jung thought that Park Noah's nose punch was very blunt. Park Noah was very upset because everything turned out so different from what he had imagined. Understood what he had to do now. Then Lee Hyun-jung punched him in the face again, and this time Park Noah fell backwards onto the ground. Lee Hyun-jung approached Park, who was lying down, and said that he fought in exactly the same way and looked like a real loser. Park Noah was very angry, and Lee Hyun-jung asked if Park Noah thought he could beat him and waved his hand again to hit Park Noah. Lee Hyun-jung started hitting Park Noah's face again and again, then asked him why he didn't come to school today. Then said if he didn't behave like that, he would settle for less, and then said that Park Noah made up too much for himself. Lee Hyun-jung asked if Park Noah really thought he could beat him. Park Noah replied that when she is alone with someone, most likely Lee Hyun-jung, she is not afraid of him at all, and even spits in his face. Lee Hyun-jung was seething with anger, and once again punched Park Noah hard in the face, while screaming that he would finish her off. Park Noah lay exhausted and beaten, and Lee Hyun-jung got up and said that Park Noah must not appear in front of him again, otherwise he could really kill him and call Park Noah pathetic. Lee Hyun-jung went to the house, but Park Noah sat down and asked where Lee Hyun-jung had gone. He said he hasn't even hit him yet. With a scream, Park Noah rushed to Lee Hyun-jung, and Lee Hyun-jung stood and waited to strike back, but suddenly he fell from his feet. He seems to be overexerting himself, and his legs aren't even holding him now. But Park Noah realized that in a real fight, he would never beat Lee Hyun-jung. Park Noah remembered the professor's question about whether he had a fighting spirit. Thanks to that, he was ready to fight even someone he could beat. Now Park Noah at least knows exactly how to answer this question. He could refuse even Park Noah tried to fight Lee Hyun-jung for the first time. Today, a loser like Park Noah is really not easy. But he credited himself for being able to hold on and survive until now, after all these brutal beatings. But was this really the end of it? What would change if he came face to face with someone who was even difficult to call an opponent? Park Noah thought whether this was really the correct answer to the professor's question. But now everything is fine, and Park Noah is very tired and wants to rest. In his dream, or maybe it was his hallucination, he saw his memories. He saw him pick up the professor's sword and asked if he needed a trump card in the team. Now it seems very funny. He laughed at Park Noah, his words about being a trump card. Because of this, he couldn't even lose. After hearing his own voice, Park Noah suddenly opened his eyes and woke up. He managed to hit Lee Hyun-jung right in the face with his fist. This was the first time he was able to hit Lee Hyun-jung, and Lee Hyun-jung flew backwards. Park Noah stood up and looked at his enemy. Park Noah was surprised that Lee Hyun-jung didn't wake up. He started laughing and said that he knew full well that Lee Hyun-jung was faking it. Park Noah told him to get up. She laughs, calling him a failed and thick-headed gamer. He said that if Lee Hyun-jung kept on lying like that, then and the win would count for him. But Lee Hyun-jung still didn't wake up, so Park Noah went to Lee Hyun-jung and looked at him. He was a little scared, then he was happy. He dropped Lee Hyun-jung and shouted with joy. This is the first time Park Noah has shouted his heart out in his life. After a tiring day, Park Noah finally came home and told the robot that he was home. The robot greets Park Noah and asks how his meeting with his friend was. Park Noah replied that his meeting with his friend went well. Then the robot started to grunt. The robot says that it is a day off from school, and Park Noah can sit at home and relax. The robot is surprised to see how energetic the kids are now. Park Noah was changing clothes at the time and asked the robot where he learned how to grunt. Did he learn it from the TV show? The robot said no. When he came from the street, he had to wash his hands and feet immediately, but Park Noah had already gone to lay down on the bed. The robot screams that it's time for Park Noah to get rid of this stupid habit. He went to bed. Park Noah is lying on the bed. His face was all bruised from being beaten. Robot asks what happened to his face. Park Noah replied that nothing serious had happened to him, and he had just fallen down the stairs. The robot started asking from another staircase which one Park Noah fell on, and what was wrong with his face. Park Noah tried to calm the robot down and said that he shouldn't worry too much about this. Park Noah closed his eyes and said with a smile that the most important thing was that he could beat this ladder. The robot looked at Noah in surprise and didn't understand what the man was talking about. After some time, Park Noah met a professor in virtual reality near a hotel in one of the villages in the Game of Time's Heroes. The professor said that everything was resolved much faster than he expected. At first he thought that Park Noah would be busy with his problems for at least a week. Park Noah just sat at the table smiling and looking at the professor, and then said that the sooner they start training, the better. The professor asks if Park Noah has said goodbye to his schoolmates. Park Noah replied that of course he said goodbye to them properly, and waved his hand so the officers looked at him with joy and fear. The professor wonders how Park Noah is walking with his friends. Then the professor said that first he would not tell about how the entrance exams to the academy were arranged. He tells Park Noah that there are 10 professors in the Fairyland Academy who lead their own game teams. Each team recruits at least 5 and a maximum of several dozen students and holds a competition. But the professor said that there is one small obstacle in this competition because the number of players is not limited. There is a problem when there are more students in some teams than in others, because there are teams where there are not enough participants. The academy has taken special measures. Park Noah asked what the steps were about, and the professor replied that these steps were the same as for the applicant. Park Noah, who was taken on a recommendation, he explained that professors look for the most capable people outside the academy, and each year they can recommend no more than 2 applicants. Testing is necessary to assess their capabilities, as well as to prevent entry fraud. He says that if Park Noah doesn't get the required number of points, he won't be able to enter the academy at all costs. Park Noah is annoyed that if he doesn't pass this exam, then all his efforts will just turn into soap bubbles, but the professor quickly reassures Park Noah, saying that he has absolutely nothing to worry about. He also says that other than sync, no one needs to master basic skills, and their professor promises to drive Noah into his head in 3 months. Now the professor offers to finally start training. The professor gives Park Noah a training suit. Information says that this is a costume to change the character's appearance. Equipment indicators are stored in the same form. The professor also drew up a 4-point training plan for Park Noah. The first item is the professor's lecture. Park Noah has to listen to a professor's lecture every day. In the lecture, the professor talks about the theory of synchronous combat, the position of a gamer, and other useful things that will add to Park Noah's missing knowledge of virtual reality. The second point is physical training in the real world. Park Noah is trained along with his robot, which monitors the high-quality performance of all drills. The professor believes that physical strength is very important in the game. The third point is hunting the heroes of time and leveling up. The professor said that there was no need for Park to familiarize himself with the Academy's class schedule, where the virtual game takes 10 hours every day, and the last point, and perhaps the most terrible, is the daily hand-to-hand fight with Carrie, without using sync. Carrie is constantly angry that she doesn't want to help Park Noah in training and says that she doesn't like him. But in the campaign, his pain level went up at least a little, and now it's even fun for him to beat him. Park Noah is very angry with Carrie, and he doesn't like to fight with her because he beats her constantly. But otherwise, sometimes it even seems funny to him and he laughs. Park Noah sadly thought that with his physical form, not even Carrie was afraid of him. Now whatever. He was so afraid that the academy was full of people like him, those who enjoy fighting people like him. Park Noah was well aware that he needed some other weapon besides sync. He wanted to punch Carrie, but she failed again, and he kicked her hard in the face. But Park Noah didn't want to give up just because he couldn't beat her. Now, after all, in the fight with Lee Hyun-jung, Park Noah learned something he finally realized. If he doesn't give up, then another path opens. Carrie hit him in the face again and again and told him to finally shut up. So 3 months passed unnoticed in training, exactly 1 day left before the final test. Park Noah packed up the things at home. He checked to see if he had forgotten something he signed up for. That he had taken his toothbrush, clothes, backpack. Park Noah was finally able to pack all the things in the backpack. The robot appears behind Noah and tells him to check carefully if there's anything he forgot. Park Noah tells the robot to finally stop acting like that, and that he checked everything himself and forgot nothing. While putting on his shoes, Park Noah is so afraid to miss the train He runs out of the house and tells the robot he will be home soon. The robot wished him good luck and told him not to rush. Robot is very worried about Noah. He thought that maybe the child would fall if he ran that fast. Then the robot looks at the photos on the shelf. In a photo of Park Noah's parents with him. The robot suddenly realizes that he has been here for 5 years. He remembered sadly. John and Lorraine are Park Noah's parents. He tells them that Noah finally has his own place. He wants to be a pro gamer. Is this really the same Noah who does nothing but cry? After Lorraine and John disappeared, now this Park Noah walked forward with his head held high. The robot tells Noah's parents in the photo that he has a test at the academy tomorrow and asks them to support their son so he can achieve what he wants. While Park Noah arrives on the train, even though he is almost late, he looks around. It is announced that the express train will run non-stop from city to city. Park Noah saw the train and thought that was cool. Suddenly there was a strange feeling, whether it was joy or fear. He held his heart in his hand when the passenger was told the train was leaving. Park Noah can't believe now he's going to town for the first time in his life. He anticipates because surely everything is more developed in the city. The remaining joy and Park Noah remember about the exam. The professor even bought him a ticket for an expensive train. Park Noah was very afraid of not passing the exam and disappointing the professor. But then Park Noah tried to drive all the bad thoughts out of him because he was tested before he just needed to be more confident in his abilities. Park Noah clenched his fists, but then he remembered again that he could never win a single fight with Carrie. Park Noah clutched his head and tried to drive away the bad thoughts. Suddenly a bright light began to shine in his eyes. Park Noah was shocked and looked out the window. It was very beautiful outside the train window. It was sunset. The sun was shining brightly and the voices of the crowd were heard. He saw water glistening in the sun. He leaned his hands and face against the window and gazed happily at this beauty now. He suddenly began to clearly feel that he was going to the academy. Finally, the train arrived at its destination. He got off the train and was very happy to be here. He was greeted by a man he did not know. It was an assistant professor. Kim's assistant introduces himself and says that the professor has sent him so he can accompany him. Park Noah greeted back and remembered that the professor had told him about his assistant. His assistant Kim took off his glasses and greeted Park Noah with a welcome to town greeting. Assistant Kim takes Park Noah to a hotel that the academy has specially prepared for those who come from far away. Park Noah was very surprised and asked if he could really use all of this. Kim's assistant says that Noah can use everything in this hotel indefinitely. And he added that Kim's assistant was happy to see Park Noah's appearance, which was much more innocent than his appearance in the Interverse. Though better off with this performance, Park Noah asks if they've met on the Interverse. Kim's assistant said that he was the one who recommended Park Noah to the professor, and he said that he is the famous male streamer on the planet, and he is the one who leads all the games. Park Noah was very surprised and thanked the man for recommending him. But Assistant Kim was a little annoyed because he expected a completely different reaction. Actually, Park Noah went there just because of Lee Hyun-jung, and he never saw that himself. Park Noah asked if it was possible to enter the intersection in this hotel. Assistant Kim replied that it was impossible because the professor said that Park Noah should have a good rest today. So Kim's assistant didn't offer a deal. He says he's supposed to be on a date today, and if Noah says that Kim takes good care of him, he'll pretend that he doesn't know that Park Noah has visited the Interverse world. He was delighted and even said that he would subscribe to Assistant Kim's channel. Kim's assistant is surprised that he hasn't subscribed yet, but Park Noah is very happy about it. He was finally in town. He really wanted to see one thing here, a place that completely repeats the city of the mirror world. Local worlds that can only be accessed in the city. The city is built by updating the real city changes and the time in it. He can use avatars that move faster than real physical bodies. This is a famous tourist place where everyone can feel like a hero. Indeed, Park Noah felt that he was using his avatar in the real world. He ran around the city and saw everything he saw in it. He saw many different people. It seems most people from the city only live in this mirror world. Then Park Noah thought he wasted his time and ran to find what he finally came to. He found it. A faker statue that only exists in the mirror world. There's a legend about the statue. Even though he suddenly quit the industry and disappeared from the scene, he was still regarded by people as a legend. the greatest gamer who accomplished many things in his prime. Faker. Park Noah had read on the internet that if he made a wish from this statue, then he would definitely be lucky in the game. He asked for a statue to make of it so he could enter the academy tomorrow. Just then, Carrie was also here and asked the statue for something. They looked at each other, and it was clear they were not happy about the encounter. Carrie asks why Park Noah is here. Park Noah understood that Carrie was worried about tomorrow like him, so he came here. But Carrie didn't like that. She told him never to compare himself to her. Then he asked why he was here if the professor said to rest today. Park Noah said he couldn't tell him because it was a secret. Park Noah understands that he and Carrie are very different. After all, he says he has something else to see and is about to leave, but Carrie asks him where he is going. He said he was going to the academy. Then Carrie asked him why he was going there, because he wouldn't make it anyway. Park Noah asked what he just said, and the girl replied that she was just trying in vain. Park Noah asks why he said he won't be able to enter the academy, and what does it mean? What does the 3 months of preparation mean? Then Noah trained with Carrie for 3 months out of 132 fights. Noah lost 132 times. He never managed to beat Carrie. To be more precise, he could never even do an accurate strike. But even after all these failures, no one didn't feel defeated. On the contrary, he strives for self-improvement every day. He thought about how he could beat Carrie, and even during training, he put more and more effort into discovering his technique. This effort gives him pleasure for Park Noah because Carrie is a good opponent. The one he wanted to defeat himself, and now his words shocked him. Noah asks why Carrie said that, because she won't lose forever. He also asked if she wanted to fight him. Then they ran towards each other intending to attack. Park Noah was finally able to attack first. He punched Carrie in the stomach, but not hard, which surprised her. She asks him what he's doing, and he tells her to go back on her word as he will also be able to enter the academy. Carrie said that it was obvious, and she wasn't going to go back on her word by throwing Park Noah to the ground. He says he won't be able to get into the academy, and Noah asks him why he keeps saying that. And that Carrie replied that in the mirror world, the entrance to the academy was forbidden to outsiders, meaning she wouldn't be able to enter the academy. It was invisible to outsiders, so he wouldn't be able to see it, even from the outside. Park Noah is very surprised, and Carrie asks if he really doesn't know. Park Noah asks if Carrie means she won't go to the academy. He asked how long. She felt everything like that. Then she asked him why he said something like that, if they are on the same team. Carrie said she would kill him if Park Noah didn't pass the test tomorrow. Park Noah started crying because of Carrie's threatening words. Carrie also felt tired after her move to punch Park Noah, and she wanted to eat. He suggested they go to a hotel together to eat something. Park Noah agrees. He thought that since she offered him dinner together that he would see Carrie in real life.